Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the June 22nd, 2026 council meeting. Before we begin, I just want to give a territorial acknowledgement. I want to acknowledge the Coast Salish people, specifically the Sianu, a First Nation on whose territory this district of Metchosin building stands. I also want to recognize our neighbors to the east or southeast, the Esquimalt nations, the Cosapsan First Nations, as well as the First Nations to the west, the Sook First Nations, as well as the Pachidot. We recognize and respect the First Nations governments, all of whom have a long-standing relationship with the land, the sea, and the waters that continue to this day. So thank you. So council, before you, we have the council agenda. We've also got a number of correspondence on the supplemental agenda. Number one, we have correspondence received for item 6A, the mayor's report from Karen Hoffman, D. Plank, G. Walsh, A. Strauss, C. Voigt, J. and K. Burrell, and B. Sawatsky, O. Clark. And number two, the supplemental item, correspondence received for item 6A, mayor's report, and draft Metchosin Environmental Advisory Select Committee, Invasives Management, correspondence from B. Bacon. And with the other notation, staff have asked that item number 8B be pulled from this agenda to be discussed at another time. With that, I'll take a motion that captures all of that. Moved by Councillor Donaldson, second by Councillor Shukin. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. That's great. And delighted to say that we have a presentation this evening. We've got two presentations. The first presentation is from BC Transit, the Victoria Regional Transit Plan Update. This is a presentation by Jacob Burnley, Transit Planner, and Elise Wren, the Government Relations Manager. So welcome to Metchosin. I understand this is your 13th presentation of 14. So thank you for your resiliency and your efforts. Go ahead.
Am I live? Yes.
Yeah, you have to speak right into the mic.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Little and Council, for having us this evening. If we want to bring up the presentation, I'll be ready to go. That's okay. I'll start by saying I'm the Government Relations Manager, and Jacob is our Transit Planner for the 25-year plan. I'm just going to give you a really brief overview of the BC Transit model and how service works here in Victoria, and then Jacob's going to take it away and tell you about the 25-year plan. I'm going to try and be very brief because a 25-year plan is a lot to talk about in 10 minutes. So here we go. So just a reminder, it's been a while since we visited Metchosin Council. So the Victoria Regional Transit System is really a regional system for the CRD. We have 58 transit routes with 100,000 boardings per day for our fixed route transit. And this is served over double-deckers, heavy duties, and electric buses. And then we have custom transit as well. So this is our Handy Dart service. This is our door-to-door accessible service. There's 22,000 registered users, but really that translates into active users. So people who've used it over the last 3 months, about 3,000 people, to keep that in perspective. And then we have an interregional connection as part of our transit system as well. We have the Cowichan Valley commuter, which is Victoria to Cowichan 7 days a week. And then just a reminder of how the funding model works. So it works in a partnership between BC Transit and the province and the Victoria Regional Transit Commission. So the province appoints the commission. So these are 8 mayors and councillors, so 6 mayors, 2 councillors that sit on the Victoria Regional Transit Commission, and they are appointed by the province, so chosen by the province. And they set the regional transit priorities and routes. They set the service levels, they approve the budget, they set the fares, and then also set the local tax subsidy for our residents. BC Transit then turns those priorities into reality on the road, operating. We work with province to access funding as well for provincial funding. And then basically all the rest of the stuff, manage a capital program, engagement, keep the buses on the road. And then our local government contribution is bus stops and shelters, and then collaboration on other infrastructure as well. And then we try to match our planning with OCP planning from local government partners to make sure that we're on the same path in terms of transit. So then there I have the breakdown of funding sources for 24-25, and I can go into that further should you need to when we get to the question and answer period. And then over to Jacob to talk about the 25-year plan.
Hi all, yeah. So my name is Jacob Burnley, Transit Planner with BC Transit. I'm here to provide a bit of an update on the Victoria Regional Transit Plan. So as Elise mentioned, this is our 25-year vision for the regional network, hoping to align a lot of this work with the anticipated growth and population changes and travel pattern changes across the region. So it is a regional plan. There are some specifics that I'll speak to related specifically to Metchosin, but also thinking about the greater transit network across the greater Victoria region as a whole. As part of this plan, we are looking to develop some comprehensive network and route design guidelines, really to identify some of those key regional connections that are needing to be made based on the data that we're seeing in terms of the changing travel patterns and growth in the region. The plan also aims to guide future investment related to infrastructure. So as we add more buses on our roads, and as we look to expand the service, we obviously need the capacity for our fleet vehicles and for space at transit exchanges, et cetera. And we'll be touching on that as part of our plan. So it's been quite some time since BC Transit did a full regional plan. That was back in 2011. And more recently, we did look at some key corridors around the region and are using that analysis to inform this plan today. We also have been looking at our rapid bus implementation strategy. So obviously we have the Route 95, the Blink bus between downtown Langford and downtown Victoria. And we are looking at expanding our suite of services similar to the rapid bus in other areas around the region. So as you can see here, there's a map here, this travel data from the CRD. And as you can see, the West Shore to core is sort of a major and ever-growing connection in the region. And there's definitely a need to modernize the service, particularly between the West Shore and downtown Victoria, to support some of those mode share and travel pattern changes. And then also just the fact that there's some major land use changes. And at BC Transit, we oversee a development referral program where we engage with municipalities about major development projects, be it commercial, mixed use, or residential. And what we're seeing is a lot of growth in Langford and Colwood specifically, but across the region to which we want to be responding to with our services. So just to speak a bit to BC Transit's accomplishments in recent years, there's been a number of milestones that we've achieved on the programming side and on the infrastructure side that I think are worth mentioning to really set the scene for where we're looking at going in the future. One of those obviously is the establishment of rapid bus. So the Route 95, like I mentioned, this is our most successful route to date. Currently, we see about 11 to 12,000 boardings on an average day on that route. And then we also have obviously dedicated laneways along the majority of the route between downtown and 6 Mile to improve travel times and really build a competitive product that people can effectively and efficiently use. We've also obviously on the programming side launched free fares for youth 12 and under, as well as the UMO contactless payment platform, and more recently added a debit and credit tap to our suite of services. So as Elise mentioned, we have a pretty comprehensive system across the region, but I'll speak a bit to Metchosin specifically in a moment. We have, like I said, 58 routes. We're seeing about 26 million annual boardings. And just to put that in context, when we look at other transit systems around the country, Greater Victoria does exceed the peer average in terms of ridership per capita, but also in terms of the service hours per capita. So how many service hours, essentially how many hours are buses on the roads? And we do exceed that tier when we look at similar sized communities or similar sized metropolitan areas around the country. In terms of services in Metchosin, I'm sure you're all aware, but we have the Route 54, 55, and 64. These are very much local coverage routes. They offer variable frequency. There's about 10 round trips a day on the 54 and 55, reduced service on the 64. And when we look at our bus stop specific data, we are noting about 60 to 70 average daily boardings across the district. I'll mention that based on the trip analysis data that we have, the predominant travel pattern is people traveling into either Royal Bay or Langford Exchange, connecting into other services. So part of this plan really does talk to rapid bus between the West Shore and downtown. And I think there'll be some translatable benefits for Metchosin as we look to improve those services as well. So as part of the Victoria Regional Transit Plan, we conducted a quite significant engagement program. We engaged with an online survey. We hosted local government partner workshops, open house events, really to just better understand local experience, user experience, and some of that future need and demand in the region. We heard some pretty universal themes, and when we exported the data for Metchosin versus other communities, 3 things that came up that was consistent really across the region was just the desire for overall improved frequency of service, but also service reliability, and on-time performance is huge. So where are our buses at versus the posted schedule, and how reliable are those services day to day? Super important. Rapid transit obviously is a key interest, especially for outlying communities connecting in to that rapid service. If we have more rapid service on our core, then any of those broken connections that you're making as you're going in are less critical. Obviously still important, but rapid transit is sort of the core of a hub and spoke style network that we aim to achieve long term. And then obviously just also the desire for simplified routes and direct connections. So we did ask people if they thought that transit should stay on main corridors, should they deviate, how often should transit deviate into side roads, and there was also not only a willingness to keep transit direct as possible, but also to consider the fact that there is a willingness among some riders to walk further to stops if the conditions of those stops are safe and accessible. So there's obviously a role for BC Transit to play and the municipality to play in working and supporting infrastructure improvements from a transit standpoint. In terms of network and route design guidelines, so this is a bit more higher level, but really we are aiming to establish some guidelines just to better give local governments and our riders an expectations of what type of service they should expect based on what their community looks like. So how should we be connecting major centers, shopping areas to major residential areas, and just providing a bit better understanding on, like I said, the type of service that's expected with different development patterns. This is something that we're actively working on and we'll be analyzing further through our route network restructuring that will come out of this plan, and likely there'll be additional engagement forthcoming related to route network design guidelines, but just sort of setting the scene there for what is to come. So a couple of the big pieces out of this plan is we're identifying about 10 sort of major key milestone big move goals for the transit system. These are region wide, but like I said, I think some will have some translatable benefits for Metchosin. I think the first one we want to talk about, and I'll just breeze through this slide, but we have sort of background on each one. The first one is about not modernizing the network and really building out our frequent transit grid. When we're talking about frequent transit, we're talking about service that comes every 15 minutes or better throughout the service day. And this is really to provide more reliable service and to ensure that the connections that people need to make throughout the network are met. There is also interest for limited stop service to provide more fast and frequent travel options on some trips. So there could be a scenario where we run a service where it stops at every stop. Other services may not stop at every stop and provide sort of an end-to-end express style service. And then there's also an opportunity for us to look at some of our lower density and rural areas and look at digital on demand as a potential solution to better tailor the service to community need. I'll just mention for frequent transit, you'll notice the loop there, the Route 52, which goes down to Royal Bay, Happy Valley, and up into Langford. A lot of the data that we see from riders from Metchosin is that people are connecting in either in Langford or at Royal Bay. So there'll be a knock-on impact if you're improving service on the 52 and amongst other rapid services and frequent services in the West Shore. So just noting that there. Obviously, we want to be considering our handed art service as well, and this is a critical piece of BC Transit's service offering. There's a number of major pieces that are coming to play with custom transit right now, and a number of improvements forthcoming. There's a bunch of work happening right now around the registration, booking, and trip planning process. One thing that we heard quite consistently over the last number of years is the challenges in registering for Handy Dart, in booking those trips, in the wait times for trips, etc. And so our custom transit team is working on some tech solutions to allow for online bookings. We obviously recently opened up a Handy Dart facility in View Royal, and this allows us to support greater investment in the capacity of service, more fleet vehicles, so we can reduce and address some of that reduce the wait times and address some of that latent demand that we're seeing with Handy Dart. The standards and guidelines as well are also being updated. So what sort of the thresholds are for performance when it comes to Handy Dart is something that we're reviewing. But also we're looking at onboard technology as well. So as people are booking trips, we are looking at technological solutions on board the buses, where then we can expedite routing and make the service overall more efficient. Happy to speak to that a little bit more if there's interest. Higher order rapid transit is another piece that we're looking at, and this is really this is a broad term, but can encompass anything from rapid bus to something like light rail service. Obviously, the West Shore to downtown demand is massive, and we are exploring opportunities to look at higher order technology for future transit connections to the West Shore. With this, we are still reviewing alignment opportunities to Langford, whether or not rapid bus or a higher level of service would run via the highway to Millstream and then down into Langford, or via Colwood Corners and Goldstream. Regardless of the alignment that's taken in conversation with local partners, there will be additional rapid transit to fill in those gaps in the West Shore, and then obviously feeding into the local services that are coming in from places like Metchosin, places like Souk as well. So we talked a bit about that, but I think the other piece too is around mobility hubs, exchanges, and park and rides. We heard quite consistently an interest in park and ride facilities, as well as for improved exchanges, especially when we're thinking about those local routes connecting into frequent routes, and when people are returning home in the evenings, the extended wait times at exchanges that may not always be rider and pedestrian friendly as much as they could be. So we are looking at some of those infrastructure improvements. That's obviously a lot of engagement with our local municipal partners, but just identifying a couple of locations where we are going to need additional capacity for vehicles and for pedestrian amenities going forward. The other thing I'll mention here is just around transit priority, and this might not have as much direct relevance to Metchosin, but will have translatable impacts for their users coming in from Metchosin. Is we are working with Langford, Colwood, and a number of other municipalities on transit priority investments, whether that's queue jumpers at intersections to give transit a head start at those key intersections, or dedicated lanes so that they can move effectively and efficiently through traffic. And again, like I said, those will have some knock-on impacts for people coming in from Metchosin to our more frequent routes. And then the last piece here, I'll just speak about on-demand service. So beyond looking at routes individually, there is an opportunity for us to investigate on-demand transit as a potential future service option for some of the lower density, lower ridership areas. On-demand transit is currently being trialed in Kelowna, Powell River, and in Squamish. And with on-demand, riders can request, it's essentially a dial-a-ride service. Riders can request a ride through the on-demand app that BC Transit offers, or via phone. This allows for a bit more flexibility and potentially improved service efficiency with better access to areas that are currently underserved with transit that might only arrive every 2-3 hours. One thing I will mention is that we will be looking at a route-by-route basis in some of our rural areas to see if this is something that is usable, and there's another opportunity for us to do a flex style service where there's a potential we could run a route that we currently run during those peak times in the mornings and the evenings, and then when the ridership drops and it's lower in the middle of the day or later at night, we could offer an on-demand service. So there's an opportunity to have sort of a hybrid model to this, but again, we're still trialing this, and as we get more data back, it'll help inform how we want to proceed with engagement. But this is likely a study that we'll want to engage in. And if there's interest from council and from your residents, it's something that we can explore further. So just in terms of next steps, obviously we're going around to various municipalities around the region and presenting sort of this draft and some of these high-level conceptual goals. I will mention that Out of this plan, we will be looking at a larger route and network review. And with that, we'll have additional public, local government, and operator engagement to really delve deep at a route level and at a sub-region level on what those needs are. We're engaging with some of our key stakeholders and rights holders, so we have some First Nations engagement that's ongoing. And we are looking at going to the Commission in July to present this draft, the draft plan, and some of these draft key concepts for comment. So that's really all I have here. Happy to answer any questions. Please back up, and yeah, thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Are you willing to answer a few questions? Yes, indeed. Well, thank you very much. I see you both at the BC Transit Commission. I'm a commissioner appointed by the province, and so it's always great to see you both, and thank you for your good work. So, Council, do you have any questions for either Elise? Go ahead, Councillor Gray, then Councillor Donaldson.
Through the chair, thanks so much for the presentation. That's really nice to see the work that's been going on in the vision for the future. I wondered about the on-demand services you were just describing. That sounds like a great idea of here in Metchosin. Would that replace the regular routes, or is it in addition to the regular routes? How does that, or maybe it's a hybrid of the two?
Through the mayor to council. Yeah, it's an interesting one. There's an opportunity, like I said, for sort of a hybrid model that could be explored. I know in Kelowna, that's what they operate. The service in Kelowna right now, there's a lot of ridership around the school times, so they keep the regular route in place during those school times, and then outside of that period, they offer on-demand service. We would likely utilize the existing service hours that we have for the service for this, so it would not necessarily be in addition to the 10 round trips a day that you're seeing, say, on the 54 or 55. We also need to consider service area as well. So on-demand is successful when you have a relatively compact service area and a designated drop-off pickup point. So I could think of it in the sense of you would offer on-demand in Metchosin feeding into, say, Royal Bay, versus service all the way into Langford where you already have existing routes. But again, that's more of a discussion. That'll be a larger discussion as we go to public engagement and route restructuring. But there is an option, like you asked, for sort of flexibility in the model. Yeah.
Okay.
And the second question, which was just, have you considered, I noticed the routes only work on the weekdays, and I'm thinking of people in town who might like to come out to the CRD parks who don't have vehicles. Has there been any thought given to that kind of a run?
To council. It's an interesting question. I had some engagement recently with Colwood about the National Urban Park discussion, and they had asked a similar question around sort of recreational oriented transit use. It is something that was explored at a high level in the West Shore local area plan that was produced in, I believe, 2021, 22. That'll likely be a component of the route and network restructuring discussion in the next year to 2 years. But there is some demand on that front. It's hard to quantify and assess what that demand could look like, but we likely, when we do engagement, we'll likely be going out with questions such as that around use of transit beyond work, school, etc. Yeah.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to go ahead, Councillor Donaldson?
Thank you very much for your presentation. Several of us were in a 6-hour workshop today to do with transit, which was good. Learned lots of great engagement. The room was packed full of stakeholders throughout the region. 2 questions. What are the wait times for the Handy Dart currently with the system that's in place?
Through the mayor, do you mean the wait times on the phone?
Well, maybe you can explain. They register to book, and then is it like 2 weeks in advance? Is it the same day? That sort of thing.
Yeah, so currently the wait time, or they have to book 14 days in advance, which we at BC Transit feel is unacceptable, and as do our riders as well. So this is part of the software upgrade that we are just embarking on. It's being trialed in another transit system. We don't typically trial things in Victoria because we're so big and we don't want to be the guinea pig. So we're trialing in a smaller system, and Victoria will be next. So this is software that is online software, so either the rider or their caregiver can book online, or the rider or caregiver can also phone as well. But what this will do is it'll take the pressure off of the phone lines, because that's currently the only way that they can call for service. And then also what the software does is a little bit like Uber or Uber Eats, where it prioritizes rides within its software. So it will be able to move people and buses more efficiently than just a human can with pen and paper and how they do it currently. So the 14-day window now, because we're still trialing it, we don't know how far down we can get it. But at the moment, we're saying 7 days, like cutting that in half.
That's great. That was the feedback that I got from
Yes, absolutely. We agree with you.
accessibility.
Did you have a
individuals.
second
I
question?
do have a second question regarding bikes and buses. Is it still currently just 2 bikes to a bus?
Through the mayor, yes, and the reason for that is the headlights. So if you put 2 bikes on a bus, if you put any more, it obscures the headlights, and then it becomes a safety concern for the transit operator. Also, what we are finding with our bike racks is that if they're the big fat tires, then it limits the ability even more.
Okay, and so because I haven't used that mechanism at this point, how does that work? You if a bus comes up to a bus stop and you're waiting with your bike and it's full, you have to wait till the next bus.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Good to know. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Shukin, do you have any comments?
I don't, except to say thank you for the presentation and the information.
Thank you very much. Very useful. Okay, next we have 2B under presentations. We have the Metchosin Equestrian Society project updates. We have a presentation by Anna Whiten and Stella French of the Metchosin Equestrian Society.
Thank you, Mayor Little and Council, for having us this evening. This is super brief, just an update to bring back to your attention the stalls that we are talking about building. So a much abbreviated presentation than what came last time, but here we go. And now I control this. I need to go back to the barn. Okay. So just a brief overview for you. Last time we were here, I thank you for your acceptance in principle so we could go asking for some grant money. We were able to receive $5,000 from the Emergency Preparedness from Horse Council BC, so our provincial body. And then, of course, last year's and this year's grant in aid that has bolstered these efforts. And then we've also raised $8,000 to date. We're still working on other fundraising events. More grant applications are still out, and we're securing corporate sponsors. Just to bring back into your memory banks, as it were, this is our proposed location there in bright yellow. So the big gray rectangle is the existing riding ring. You can really tell by that one how not square it is, eh? The grandstands, you can see they look like a set of stairs there. So this is the open grassy area that is right beside it, where we've done the petting zoo on Metchosin Community Day and that kind of thing. This is an AI-generated sketch, just so we have a visual on what we're talking about. It is a freestanding structure on poured footings, just the square footings there. That is sort of what it will look like when we get our panels that we already have purchased inside the freestanding structure. And so what I can't picture is that the turf would have to be cut back, right? And the ground would have to be prepped for horses to be on, or we will, well, horses just, yep. So all we're asking for is a yes or no to proceed so that we can move forward on the engineering stamp and securing a building permit, hiring the contractor, and then finally break ground.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to say anything as well? Nope. Nope.
Here for moral support.
Okay, great. Yeah, we can all use moral support.
Yeah.
Okay, Council, do you have any questions for the equestrians? Go ahead, Councillor Shugan.
Great. Thank you very much, Mayor Little. Through you, just remind me again, the overall budget for the project you're looking at, I thought it was 25?
That's my number too. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have received quotes to 22,000, and that was with consideration of no assistance from other outside agencies. We have been gifted already engineering stamps and architectural drawings. So, and the support of a developer in Langford to help us.
Nice.
So we have, like I said, previously estimated 22,000, but we're getting lower and lower.
Okay. And just to be clear, tonight you're not asking for any funds from the district?
We expect nothing from you guys other than what we've received in the grant and aid.
Okay.
Just your approval is what we're looking for.
Okay. And one other question, I believe that the full consideration of this will come a little later in the agenda under correspondence? Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Gray.
Yes, through the chair, I wonder if you, when you're looking forward and this facility is built, would it be available when it's not in use for other people? I guess I'm imagining, and I don't want to suggest that the garage sale will expand out that far, but that I just wonder about other people on the grounds, and it looks like a Skookum facility, but mostly for emergency use and or I guess events that you're holding. So at other times, would it be reasonable for others to use it, or what do you think?
No, absolutely. I mean, just like we have partnered with, not partnered, been good neighbors with the garage sale or with the farmers market stands, right? We can in kind share it back again, right? Yeah. The panels inside there are like machine movable. So it could be a freestanding thing with much effort. Or clear span space, right? But it would be much effort.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Oh, go ahead, Councillor Donaldson.
Thank you. Do you have any plans for lighting to go into the structure?
No lighting, just natural occurring.
Well, what I was thinking is because solar panels are related to climate action, and there are more grants for solar than not. The museum, they did that a number of years ago, so that is an option to consider in the future if you would need it, especially if it's an emergency preparedness shelter and things do happen in the winter with floods, etc. Might be an idea. Just we have those sorts of things come across our desk from time to time, so it doesn't necessarily have to be hardwired in. So.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point, because it would also be good roofing space for that kind of thing, whether it feeds that building itself or somewhere else. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll just acknowledge that we would love to have the BC Transit Commission staff here, but if you want to leave, we understand. Thank you. Okay, Council, the next on the agenda is public participation. Should you wish to speak at the microphone, you have 4 minutes per person to a maximum of 45 minutes. Everybody's welcome. Please state your name and your road, and we are respecting everybody's time, and we are receiving respectful comments. Everybody's welcome.
Hi, Jill Colrick, Kangaroo Road. Good evening, Mayor and councillors. Tonight I'm excited to give you an update on the new primary care clinic coming to Metchosin. For the last 8 months, I've been volunteering almost full-time working on this project, working very closely with the South Island Primary Care Society, which is a local nonprofit, to find better ways to improve access to healthcare here in Metchosin. That's meant a lot of public engagement, weekdays, evenings, and weekends, talking with residents about their experiences with healthcare, where the gaps are, and how we can build services to fill them. I've also been meeting regularly with the mayor and various councillors to plan how to move this project forward together. I want to start by saying how grateful I am for the chance to meet so many people in our community and to hear their stories. Some of what I heard was very hard to listen to. Stories of people without a family doctor or nurse practitioner, stories of people who do have one but couldn't get in fast enough for urgent issues like infections. I heard from people who couldn't get into walk-in clinics or urgent care and ended up sitting in the emergency department for hours just to get a simple prescription. These stories are exactly why the Nonprofit Society and I are working hard to bring this clinic here. And true to form, for a community like Metchosin, people here have really stepped up to help us with this initiative. We've had generous individuals and groups come together to help fund the renovation of a classroom into the old school building to make our medical clinic. I want to especially thank the Seniors Resource Center for collecting donations on our behalf, and the Metchosin Arts and Cultural Center Association for organizing a fundraiser for us of their own initiative. Both have made a real difference in our fundraising efforts so far. I also want to thank you, Mayor and councillors, for the time that you've taken to understand our mission and for your verbal support on this initiative. And also thank you to everyone in the community who came to our info session last week, asked really great questions, and stayed engaged with this work. One thing I heard loud and clear over the last 5 months is that Metchosin doesn't just need more long-term family care. It also needs a walk-in clinic that's open to everyone, whether or not you already have a family doctor. So we've adjusted our model to include both long-term ongoing family care as well as walk-in care for anyone who needs it in the community. Our community is our top priority. That's why we're excited to announce a new partnership with the Metchosin Pharmacy, where we'll be able to offer some limited services starting this summer. We don't want to wait any longer to start helping people, so stay tuned for opening dates this summer, when we'll begin offering long-term family care, walk-in care for everyone, and counseling services. As for our longer-term plans, we're currently pursuing grants and fundraising to support our expansion. We're fully committed to opening this clinic, and we will see it through. But the timeline depends a lot on how fundraising goes. With the district's support and the mayor's advocacy, though, we could potentially still open the full clinic services as of November 2026. So thank you, Mayor and Council, for your support this evening. It means a great deal to us.
Thank you. Thank you. Deputy Corporate Officer, we're going to set the timer again.
Good evening. Richard Simpson, 1287 Boulder Path. I'll be very brief. I'm attending tonight to witness the approval of the Bufferland Park Dedication Bylaw. I want to express my gratitude to this council, district staff, and Metchosin community for making this bylaw happen to protect the 113 acres of green space adjacent to Langford Center Mountain industrial and residential developments. It was only 5 years ago that previous actors tried to sell off the bufferland at a fraction of its value and with zero consultation. We still have a way to go to put all the pieces in place to ensure this incredible green space is protected in perpetuity for all Metchosinites, but council will take a huge step forward by passing this bylaw tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Sorry. Anybody else wish to speak this evening?
I hadn't planned on speaking, but I will. Glenda Barr.
Move the microphone down just a wee
Okay.
bit. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks, Glenda.
Glenda Barr, Lindholm Road. And I wanted to speak in support of the medical center and council possibly providing some fundings for the renovations. I noticed that someone had written a letter saying what good is this for someone who already has a doctor? And I can't say how many times I've heard people say, I just found out my doctor's leaving. I had no idea this was going to happen, and I don't know what to do. So I think that we shouldn't be so complacent, and I think this would be just a wonderful service to provide in Metchosin. The sooner the better. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for leaving that on. So it's Wendy, and it is 580 Woody Beach Road. This thing is really long. So we received $2.4 million 3 years ago, and you're proposing to spend it now in the last 4 months of your term. On what? An ultimate sports court, bike paths, pedestrian pathways. Last month, it was a state-of-the-art fire hall, and now a sports court. We can order one of those online for $1 million, I discovered, but it doesn't include the land or the parking or the toilets. So who's demanding these services? You ran on a platform of supporting rural Metchosin. Bike lanes and ultimate sports courts are not rural. We have beaches, parks, trails, lakes. We've got excellent roads to access them. This is the height of hubris. And do I need to define hubris for you? It's the display of arrogance and overconfidence in one's abilities, and it usually results in miserable failure for all those involved. Consider the health clinic and consider the fire hall. These matter to Metchosinites. Keep the money in the bank earning money and start thinking rural.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I invite you to stay for the mayor's report where we're going to discuss this. Okay. Anybody else wish to speak this evening?
Moira Horrigan, Metchosin Road. I would like to suggest keeping the money for the fire hall. That's definitely a debt that's going to come up. And we should be looking forward. Just a few months back, we couldn't afford to give the charities at Metchosin their tax-free status. So now I sort of feel that we aren't in a position to start building sportsplexes and all those kinds of things. We do have a tennis court. I'm not sure what its state is. We have a playing field if people want to run around to kick a ball. And so I would agree with a lot of these very good letters bringing up very good points here. And so I would say keep the money for the fire hall. Thank you.
Thank you. And just a reminder, we're receiving respectful comments this evening.
That's the second time you've asked me to provide respectful comments, and in 26 years, I have never once been disrespectful to anyone in this chamber.
Thank you for that. Your time is started.
That's okay. I have more than enough time. So I wanted to speak tonight in regards to the item on the agenda, which is in your mayor's report. And when these monies were gifted to you by the province at the beginning of your term, there were people that came forward and they were concerned at that point in time that how the monies would be spent and how it would be looked at, because there was numerous projects that needed to be looked at. And at the time, you, Mayor Little, stated that there would be public consultation for the monies and how they were going to be spent. I would suggest that your proposal tonight of asking to spend monies or looking at ways to spend monies 4 months before your time at this table may be up would probably be disrespectful and reckless. Thank you. Kiera Kahakawila, Perry Cross Road.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak this evening? Okay. Let's move along in the council agenda. Item number 4, we have adoption of minutes. We have the minutes from June 1st, 2026, regular council meeting for adoption. Move.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor Shukin. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? No one opposed. We've got the receipt of the minutes. Do you want to take them as a whole, or does somebody want to pull one in particular? Yep, yep, okay. I'll take them, all of the minutes. This is from the April 24th, 2026 draft Peninsula and Area Agricultural Commission PAC minutes. May 5th draft Agriculture Advisory Select Committee minutes. May 19th draft Parks and Trails Advisory Select Committee minutes. May 26th draft Healthy Communities Advisory Select Committee. May 26th draft Metchosin Environmental Advisory Select Committee. Moved for information by Councillor Shukin, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. Comment? Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Great. Thank you. Moving right along to item number 6, the mayor's report. I just wanted to say to all of you, good evening. And this is an important meeting. Not only is the items on the mayor's report, but more importantly, this is an important meeting in the life cycle of council and staff, fulfilling our statutory obligations with the production and the approval of the 2025 annual report. And it's also for the publication of the SOFI report that is required under the financial acts of the province, and that's for receipt. So this is the purpose of this meeting, and we've given notice, as is due process and is our requirement for the annual report. Moving along to items in my mayor's report, I'll go through quite a bit of it. We've received letters on the South Island Primary Care Society, the Metchosin Clinic. Ms. Cowlick was here earlier this evening to talk about the clinic and to give you a lot of the detail. So I just wanted to preface this by saying about 6 months ago, a member of the community, Ms. Cowlick, asked for a meeting with the mayor and staff regarding the proposal for the new Metchosin-centric holistic healthcare clinic. CFO Creek and I met with Jill, and we immediately realized the potential of such a proposal. Jill asked if we had any space in the municipal hall building, and CFO Creek mentioned the potential space of the municipally owned former Metchosin Elementary School. Jill was very impressed with the classroom space, and she's presented her ideas to council before. As a follow-up to the initial discussions and conversations that Jill had about once a week at the community coffee shop at the Broken Paddle and at the Mayor's Teas where she attended, I organized an open house on June 11th, 2026. The South Island Primary Care Society, Ms. Cowlick and other allied healthcare professionals attended that open house. The purpose of the gathering was to explain the proposed clinic and to explore how the community, organizations, individuals can collaborate to be part of bringing to a reality the access to more primary care in Metchosin. This open house was held in Classroom 1 at the old school beside Mile Zero. About 35 to 40 or 50 interested community members attended. Some came and went with the pickleballers. So what's really important is that it's not just Ms. Cowlick as the nurse practitioner that is leading this. She's partnered with the South Island Primary Care Society in opening their 6th primary care clinic, and this will be in our village here in Metchosin. So 2 classrooms in the old Metchosin Elementary School building beside Mile Zero will be renovated with fully functional equipment for the medical clinic, bringing much needed high quality primary care to over 1,800 residents of Metchosin, Beecher Bay, and East Souk. And they will offer primary and palliative care for from nurse practitioners, counseling with a registered clinical counselor, specialist services including pediatrics, midwifery, physical medicine, and geriatrics. Future expansion to include registered nursing and additional clinicians as provincial funding grows, and coordinated care with Island Health, home care nursing, Beecher Bay Health Team, and Pearson College. As you heard tonight, they're also changing their model somewhat to have a drop-in clinic there as well. So the timeline, as Jill mentioned, is possible from July to December of 2026, and the funding model is really unique for British Columbians. Once the clinic is open, day-to-day operations and clinician compensation will be covered by the provincial government funding. However, there's currently no more government funding available for the renovation costs needed to transform the classroom space into the medical clinic. So this is why the South Island Primary Care Society is fundraising for the $180,000 that they expect it to take, that's the upper limit, to renovate the classrooms and make these renovations possible. They're calling on individuals, businesses, community groups, organizations to help get them there. Every contribution brings primary care one step closer to the community. And this is a nurse practitioner led care, a little bit of a different model for Canadians or for British Columbians. I know for sure that in the States, many people have only nurse practitioners as their primary health care provider. They provide excellent equivalent care for that of family doctors. They have a scope of practice. You okay? They have a scope of practice similar. They're able to diagnose and prescribe as a family physician would. Currently, we're told that there's upwards to 1,400 people in Metchosin that are unattached to a primary care provider. And this temporary clinic is anticipated to open between early July and August. And it would be much needed primary care access, additional access to Metchosin residents who are currently face significant barriers in obtaining timely medical services. Can I get a glass of water for Council Donaldson? You're good? Okay. Okay. Let's see what else. So the benefits to the community are pretty clear. Improved access to walk-in primary care for Metchosin residents, reduce pressure on emergency departments and urgent care facilities, a community-based nonprofit model that prioritizes patient outcomes over profit, a conveniently located clinic within our community in a municipally owned building. So phase one are underway now, which is very exciting, to temporarily lease space in the Metchosin pharmacy for the nurse practitioner-led walk-in clinic. There's enough room at the back. I've seen the space. It's not very large, but it's probably about the size of 2 average clinical rooms in your doctor's office. I think for a temporary solution, I think it's great. And this could be implemented in July or August of this year. So that's phase one. I think this is a meaningful opportunity for our community with the possibility to improve health and well-being of some of our residents. So this is not a new issue. It's not just before the election. This came about at least 6 months ago, and the South Island Primary Care Society has been fundraising. I understand they've raised about $15,000 so far, and so they have 165 or so to go. At the meeting the other night, there were a number of individuals who said, why doesn't the municipality pony up for some of the money? It's not for the clinicians, it's not for operations. What it is for renovation of the space. It's renovation of our space, the municipal owned. And so the proponents, they actually haven't come to us. They haven't come to council yet. with a business case, and I'm sure they will. They were asked whether they could provide a business case, and as I've already said, this will be their 7th clinic, so they could provide a business case. Right after that meeting, we received a number of letters, some against, but many that were in favor. And if a business case is brought forward, then those letters will include that business case. So I wanted to ask council to ask staff to explore funding options for the proposed infrastructure for the Metchosin Health Clinic. So I'm not asking council to talk about giving money tonight. I'm asking them to ask staff to make, provide funding options for the proposed infrastructure for the Metchosin Health Clinic. Because I want you as councils to have as much information to make evidence-based decisions about this money. So I also went on to say that these options may, underlined, include use of reserve funds from the Growing Communities Fund and directly or a portion of the interest earned on the $2.4 million Growing Communities Fund. So as community members have pointed out, we received the grant in 2023. We haven't spent a dime of it. I'm not sure, and council can remind me, I don't know if we have a council resolution that says we are going to spend earmark the 2.4 million for the fire hall. What we have, I think, a general consensus that is what Metchosin needs. And I think we were all in agreement that the 2.4 million. What I was saying is that we have been so fiscally responsible, we haven't spent a dime. And that grant has accrued interest, and it now sits at 2.67 or 76? 2.76 million. So there's a differential there. So what I'm suggesting is that we could provide some funding. I'm suggesting that staff come up with those options. So maybe we give a portion to this society, and they are a bona fide society with fundraising abilities. They can issue a tax receipt. We may not want to give them the whole $165,000. We may say, we'll give you 20, 30, 40, and you can, they will fundraise the rest. We may ask the Metchosin Community House, for instance, if they want to partner, because I understand they have in excess of 150,000 or something in the bank, or 100,000. Maybe they want to partner with the municipality. So this is funding options. I'm not asking you to make a decision about spending money from that Growing Communities Fund, but for what I'm suggesting is we've incurred interest on that because we've invested it wisely, and there is some money there that we could spend, but keeping the 2.4 million earmarked for the fire hall, which I agree with all the letter writers. That is exactly what Metchosin needs. So the motion would be to ask staff to explore funding options for the proposed infrastructure for the Metchosin Health Clinic. These options may include use of reserve funds from the Growing Communities Fund, GCF, directly, or a portion of the interest earned on the $2.4 million Growing Communities grant awarded to Metchosin in 2023. This is now 2.76 million. So there's a differential there of $376,000 we could spend, or we could earmark it all for the fire hall. I think this is important. I agree with some of the letter writers that healthcare is the provincial responsibility, and I've spoken both to our MP and to our MLA. There's no money coming from our provincial government. There's no money coming from the federal government for this. But it does say in the community charter that we're responsible for the health and well-being of our citizens. So public safety, absolutely. I'm for rebuilding of the fire hall, and I'm really very heartened, and I think it's absolutely wonderful, the letters that we've received regarding the need for the fire hall. But we also need a clinic in Metchosin, and many people say that is something that they would like to put not only their money behind it, but money that we have at the municipal hall. So with that, I will make that motion. Does anybody need to? It's up on the board. Does anybody want to second the motion to ask staff to explore the funding options for the proposed infrastructure for the Metchosin Health Clinic? And if I have a seconder, I will motivate further.
So Mayor Little, just a point of clarification. The motion up there covers both the sport court and the active
Yeah, we're
transportation.
going to take them one at a time. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll second for discussion.
Okay, great. And I'll motivate further. So the district of Metchosin, as I mentioned, received that $2.4 million Growing Communities Fund in 2023. We haven't spent a penny of it. We've invested it wisely, and the reserve fund was required by the province to put it into a reserve. It is sitting in the reserve, and it can be earmarked for different projects. Hopefully the fire hall rebuild is the main one. Since these funds were originally distributed, municipalities have until March 2028 to spend the money on eligible projects. So it's not like we can keep it in perpetuity. It says right in the grant application, it needs to be spent by March 2028. As you've observed, if you've come to these meetings, you've observed that we've had significant delays in the fire hall project. And if this continues, it could mean that the district of Metchosin may have to return the grant to the province. I would hate to see us return the Growing Communities Fund that was awarded to us in 2023 and invested wisely. And so we need to spend it. It looks like it will be spent perhaps in some of this term and in the next term. And I hope tonight we could have a council resolution that the majority of these funds should go to the fire hall. Of course, we can't tie the hands of future council, but it would be a recommendation to the future council. Let's see, what else? Yeah, about the question about, I have a doctor, and so how does this affect me? I'm not supporting it because I have a doctor. We had one community member mention that many people say, I have a community doctor, I have a primary care physician, and now they're retiring. What am I going to do? They go on the registry. Also, this was mentioned, this exact sentiment was mentioned the other day at the mayor's tea, and our MLA Dana Lejeunesse said, that's not very community minded, sort of pushing back on that sentiment that I've got a family doctor, so I don't care about other people. And I think it is good to think about other people. I mean, we pay taxes, we pay school taxes, and I don't have any kids in the school system. We pay those taxes. I support other initiatives that my family doesn't use, the bike jump, lots of other things in the community that I personally won't benefit from, but we support that. Okay, does anybody wish to comment on the motion on the table? Councillor Schumer.
Thanks, Mayor Little. Yeah, I'm supportive of the motion. And what I think we all know is access to public health care is a serious issue in the province and of course locally as well. One thing about Metchosin, as we all know, is we do have an older demographic here that, and I think one of the favorite sayings in Metchosin is we're not getting any younger. So that's going to continue. I believe that there is a significant public interest and public good that we can support and advance by what is going to amount to a very reasonable spend if you look at the full extent of the community building fund. What I understand is that $180,000 is apparently what is needed to get all of the one of the classrooms set up to be a clinic, but fundraising has also been underway as well. So I don't think we're being asked to foot the entire bill. There are some complexities with all of this, though, and I think should need to be explored. One of which is like whether there's a break in the ongoing lease that the classroom would have, and what that means in terms of financial impact and burden on the taxpayers. Or and again, also where the fundraising is and the potential of grants that South Island Primary Care may get for this clinic. So there's a lot of things to uncover, and I think it is a good direction for staff to, as they're able to get into this and provide us with some options. So.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Dawson.
Thank you. I don't think anybody's denying that this is having a primary care unit in Metchosin is a great idea. I've yet to hear anybody say that. I met with Jill early this spring to explore fundraising as something I've done a lot of in the last couple decades. And we jotted down an extensive list of different kinds of fundraising. Having said that, when we go into the spring, and this community is phenomenal with their volunteering and their fundraising, there are a lot of spring fundraisers in Metchosin, and farmers are out in the fields planting, so they're not available. MCA does their big garage sale. The community garden does a plant sale. Persian Cafe did their display of congeniality of having people together for their event, and the list just keeps going on and on. I'm not aware of what I do know that this society has applied extensively for grants and are hoping to hear anywhere from 3 to 6 months from some of those grants. So that's positive. I have not heard what efforts or plans there are for the fundraising. That I'm not aware of. I know that my capacity is limited until at least January. I'm willing to help, but cannot organize. But the question for me is, have we ever helped the other tenants in the building with their renovations? For example, did we offer up to help with the renovation of the Metchosin Wellness Collective or the preschool? Preschool did have some grant funding in that in their efforts, Mile Zero, that sort of thing. So is this something that we're prepared to go to those businesses and say, hey, we'd like to, soften the shoe a little bit with their tenancy, or is this just or we're just going to focus on this one business? I think what I'm looking at here is what is equitable for the tenants in the building, and what is the what's the word? The diplomacy of investing our funds that we have, greatly put into a reserve, and it's or into an account where it's making some money and stuff. We've not had any discussions about that, and I'm trying to find that balance. But I guess the big question is, how have we helped the others?
Yeah, and I think a lot of those answers to the questions will be in the staff report, because remember, we're not talking about equity at this meeting. We're talking about asking the staff to explore funding options for the proposed infrastructure for the Metchosin Health Clinic. I'm not asking you to make a decision tonight on that, which you would need, I agree, all that information regarding fundraising, how much they've raised, their grants they've put out. I'm asking you to ask staff to explore the funding options. So staff will also comment on the answer to some of your question, what we've done for the preschool, what we did for Mile Zero Brewery. And you remember what that was. And so that's what I'm asking you to do.
Yes, I know that you're asking that. I was also, as I was going through this agenda, reminded that at our strategic planning meeting, there was so many months left in our term and tasks that we need to deal with, including the workload of our staff. So is this the optimal time to add to that workload? I'm not comfortable with that, but
we could ask the CEO. Yeah, we could ask the CEO, since it would be him that's preparing the report. Did you want to comment now, CEO Payette, or shall I finish here and then you can comment?
Maybe just continue on. I can comment at the end.
Okay. Yeah. Whether you have the capacity, I think, is the question. Okay, Councillor Gray.
I'm quite surprised to see us on the agenda tonight. You're just talking about our strategic plan. There's nothing in our strategic plan like this. And I think we committed that we wouldn't spend staff or money on things that weren't in the plan. It was one of our first items, was to be careful of our use of funds and staff time. But more importantly, this seems off cycle to me in terms of our budget discussions. We've already passed our 5-year plan. And I think the timing is unfortunate in that way. So I would prefer to see us come up in the regular cycle. As to the role of our community, I'm not convinced that we have a role. We were asked, the project was described to us as something that we wouldn't be funding, and that money, actually this renovation cost, would come from private individuals and organizations, no request for us for dollars. While the fundraising is going on, though, my understanding is that the staff have held back on renting those rooms to other people. So we're actually at the moment incurring costs, rental costs, that we've foregone in order to support the clinic coming. So the community is already in this for some significant dollars at the moment. Months of rent has gone where we haven't filled those rooms. And I believe our practice of the wellness clinic was, and one of the things that held them up and made it was difficult for them, was the leasehold improvements, and we did not assist them in that. And I'm not sure why we would do it in this instance. Mayor Little, you said this is a different model, and by golly, it sure is. This is a model where I know this council has talked about the unfortunate situation of provincial downloading. This is where we'd be choosing to have downloading occur. We'll take that on instead of the province paying what would rightfully be theirs. E-com is enough of a problem for us. I don't see the validity of municipal taxes being used to fund healthcare. I think it's a bad model. And to have our MLA come here and confirm, in fact, they don't have any money for it, that means it's not a provincial priority. And they just completed an agreement, or are completing an agreement with the Doctors of BC, and I'm sure there's plenty of money there. But it's being used for other purposes, increases in pay and things like that, I expect. So I'd also say we've heard a bit here about, we received many, many, many letters. I think we received 5 letters last week, or was it 4? I wasn't sure where they came from, and I appreciate your explanation today to say, oh, this came out of a meeting, the open house that was held, and some people there said, hey, we should pay for it. I think what we've seen so far, the public response has not been particularly strong. We had the MACA fundraiser was held, which was quite a success. I understand there's a pickleball tournament being planned. We've offered or talked about a community hall fundraiser. Like Councillor Donaldson, I met with the proponent, Jill Cowrick, and also Alicia from the Primary Care Society. We provided community contacts, shared fundraising ideas, encouraged the establishment of a fundraising committee. My family's made a personal donation. I'm not really clear that we shouldn't just let the group continue on with their fundraising efforts and see where they get to. I don't see a big role for us at the moment. I'll have more to say in a moment.
Okay. Yep. I can respond to them, but go ahead, I'll respond to them, then we'll ask the CAO. Okay, go ahead.
Just picking up on a few points from Councillor Gray. Yeah, I recognize that this is not in our strategic plan, and still, I believe it is a great opportunity and one that we should actually seize and not wait too long to. And of course, there's very few things that are more fundamental to humans than good healthcare. But the other thing, just to be clear, is the group, the big thing that they're looking for is the funds to get the clinic set up. Now, again, I mentioned this before, it's $180,000 is the projection, and there's fundraising that's been done already. So whether and how much the district might contribute needs to be, to my mind, should be explored. And that's, I think, what the motion is looking at. Whether from there we decide we're going to proceed with funding, we'll make that decision at that time. But I think having a look is a good opportunity and a good thing to do. And I'll also mention Langford supported a healthcare clinic, and as we all know, Colwood has basically opened one and has hired staff, and I think to much success in their communities. So not the same thing here, but I think this is, for us, it's a tip toward better healthcare. One final point, whether or not it's a bad model, whether or not the province should do more, where we're at kind of right now is where we're at, and it's unlikely to change. So I think we should respond and take up the opportunity that will actually serve our residents and for the betterment of those residents. So I'm in favor of going ahead and exploring some options for funding. So.
Okay, thank you. I'll respond, and then you can have a second chance to speak, Councillor Gray. Is that okay? Okay, regarding the grants, I think it's laudable that they are applying for grants and for fundraising. They have raised $15,000. Many at this table have already contributed, so good on you for that. That's wonderful. Councillor Donaldson, you mentioned there's many spring fundraisers. Well, the spring fundraisers have come and gone. Regarding that, this wasn't in our strategic plan. I didn't know she was going to come forward in December, January. I didn't know, I don't have a crystal ball. I didn't know that they were going to move quickly and open up phase 1 at the pharmacy. And I agree with all of you that healthcare and funding healthcare is a fundamental responsibility of the feds and the province. I'm just impatient. I'm tired of waiting for a clinic in Metchosin. I'm tired of waiting, and it just breaks my heart that 1,400 people in Metchosin are unattached. We heard the other evening, and it's too bad, Councillor Gray, that you weren't able to join the rest of us at that meeting, and you would have seen how many people spoke passionately that night about this is exactly what we need in Metchosin to augment the primary care that is provided by other healthcare providers. This is exactly, so it's too bad that you weren't there. It was a very powerful meeting. And there was some skepticism, absolutely. And there were some questions because people aren't familiar with this model. But this society, this will be their 7th clinic. They partnered with the City of Langford. The City of Langford gave $1.8 million towards that clinic, in addition to $1 per year. As Councillor Shukin said, Colwood has taken a different approach and partnered with the Pattison company working out of a pharmacy. And so every community is doing something differently that they probably didn't have in their strategic plan. And because, as I mentioned, this is a federal and provincial responsibility. But we are, in the community charter, responsible for the health and well-being of our community. And I think that is also healthcare. About the downloadings, that this adds to the downloadings. Ecom, for instance, there was no consultation that was downloaded. There was a time where the province was saying, we will help with clinics, we will help with the infrastructure, but as you've seen, they're in austerity budget mode. We've heard from the MLAs, actually, I heard perhaps you weren't listening, but I heard in 2023 that there would be no more grants. And that's why I was so insistent that we apply for that fire hall grant last year. Because, and everybody said, not everybody, some people said there's going to be more intakes. I was told in 2023, money that is committed is committed. We will honor that. But there's not going to be a lot of grants. And look at where we are with the BC government. I mean, how many billions of dollars are they in deficit? They're not going to be giving out money. So I'm just a practicalist. Wrong word. I believe in practicality. And I think this is a practical thing. But again, we're not having the conversation whether we should fund them or not. The question I'm asking is ask staff to explore options, including using the interest earned on that $2.4 million grant, the Growing Communities Fund, that we must use by March of 2028. So I'll move to CEO Payette, and then we'll go for a second time to Councillor Gray. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. So on the capacity question, we have the one council meeting July 13th, I believe, which is agenda's full already. We have staff trying to take a bit of time off this year. It'd be nice. Next meeting will be in September. So I could promise maybe a fulsome report in September. Thank you.
So for September, Councillor Gray, did you want to go?
Yeah, I think the just touching on the strategic plan idea that we wouldn't take up staff's time on projects that aren't in the plan. You weren't able to predict that, but I still think that we should stick with our plan. There's a lot of work going on right now that needs to be done. What I find sort of strange is that we haven't been asked for money, and we're stepping forward we're in a very difficult financial situation that we find ourselves in. We have you know that the school site costs us $170,000 a year, at least it did in 2025. And so saying we're going to double that cost for 2026, equivalent to a 5.5% tax increase. You say, well, we'll pull it from a reserve. That's what we'll do. So we'll avoid a tax increase. But this is the people's money in Metchosin at the moment. And I think that it's kind of a chaotic situation to be here right now, asking for money for something that doesn't fit in our plans, hasn't been predicted. We spent almost $100,000 a few weeks ago on an unplanned expense on a fire service vehicle. We've got a $3 million annual infrastructure funding gap. We've got the RCMP building, we just heard may go from $75,000 a year to $441,000 a year. Mayor Little, you didn't want to look into it, but we are going to look into it. We need to deal with the fire hall. $21 million was floated with a $7 million debt. We've got unknown costs with the West Shore Parks and Rec expansion plans, how many $1 million that might be. We're stretched to the limit here. And we heard from Jill Calrick, and we heard from her companions of the South Island Primary Care Group that they didn't want money from us. They're getting it from other people. And now we're jumping in and saying, we'll save the day. We're spending money right now with those rooms empty. We're supporting the clinic. We'd like it to succeed. I don't see the point of us putting more money into that at the moment, given our financial situation. While you were saying that you're heartbroken by the 1,400 people, well, I think we heard that $15,000 has been raised, and I understand 10,000 came from a single individual. Maybe if those 1,400 people are interested, they might donate more money, or people like myself who have a family doctor can donate some money. But I don't see the district having a role in this, except to support the clinic as we've committed to do, the meetings that we've held. Still, there's fundraising to be done, and I'd understood that things were looking up and the fundraising is going fine. Again, I don't understand why we would jump in. Certainly, we'd received, if it was 5 letters and you were at a meeting with more people. But that's not the way to do it from my perspective. We heard tonight from the microphone, we committed to talk to people, to consult with the community. What do we want to spend this growing community funds on? The other thing that I note, and perhaps we can get clarification through the chair to the CFO, the Growing Community Fund, when I read the eligibility criteria, could not be used for this purpose. Is it true that the interest earned on that money can be used for this purpose, or is it also limited to the eligibility criteria of the Growing Community Fund, which would not include the renovations of this clinic?
Yeah, so that would be included in exploring the options.
I'd like to ask tonight through the chair rather than wait. It's pretty clear it's not eligible for the Growing Community Fund. Can the interest be used?
CAO Payette, what would you like to do? Would you like to include that in your report in options? Yeah, yeah. So they would like to have some time. I think that's only fair to look into that. Go ahead.
We can do a complete report for sure with all the details. We have, like, CFO has knowledge right now on the basically what you can use that grant money for. So if it helps with the discussion, we have the basic information on that grant tonight.
That would be helpful.
Yeah, thank you. And just to correct you, the fire hall, the price tag was $16 million with contingency fees, as the CFO has outlined, to the tune of 21 million. The price tag was 16 million, as articulated by the JDA architects. When they saw the 21 million, we said 16 million, and our CFO Creek has added the contingency fees on top of contingency fees. And so the price tag, what really is 16 million. Yeah. Okay, so back to the question. I hear your passion. I hear your passion, and I really do trust we can get back to this. I think we can achieve the goal of answering the question and the motion on the table with the information that you have.
Perhaps I could ask then, you say in your note you would like an evidence-based decision. What evidence are you looking for?
What evidence I'm looking for is what can we use the Growing Communities Fund? Can we use the interest? Is there another option? Is it possible that the society puts in 50%, we put in 50%, they put in 80%, we put in 10%, 20%, just the different funding options, so that you have the facts when you're making those decisions. And I agree, this is out of the cycle of the budgeting. They missed that. They haven't, you're right, they haven't asked us, but they certainly haven't said, no, we won't take any of the funding. If you were at that meeting, you would have seen people that are attached to primary care physicians and who have complex needs, and they're having difficulty accessing their primary doctor, their primary care provider. And there were 2 or 3 gentlemen in the room who said, thank you for opening a clinic there. Thank you for discussing or the potential of having a walk-in clinic, because I would use it even though I'm attached to a doctor. Let's see, what else can I say about that?
The CAO's offered to tell us the answer to the question, so why don't we hear that tonight?
Sorry?
We can get the evidence, as you put it, on whether or not the Growing Community Fund interest is eligible to be used in this way, and we just heard the CAO would tell us tonight.
Okay, sure. Let's turn to CAO Payette. Do you have that information? Okay, CFO Creek, that'd be great.
Thank you, through the chair. So the interest earned on the Growing Community Fund reserve is only eligible to be used for the eligible projects that's listed for the Growing Community Fund.
Could we make,
Thank you.
When we heard about the Growing Communities Fund, Mitzi Dean said it's fairly wide open. Could we make a specific request to the province regarding the Growing Communities Fund?
Through the chair. Yeah, we could ask the province about this project specifically. I think based on some of the information that I know about the project and its potential involvement or having people from Beecher Bay end up using the medical facility, it would fall under the municipal or regional capital projects that service directly or indirectly neighboring First Nation communities. But we get a confirmation from the province regarding that.
Yeah, because it's infrastructure that the funding is for. It's not for the healthcare, it's for infrastructure, it's capital expenses. And that's why I thought that the interest could be used. Councillor Gray.
If I can ask a question. So if an individual donates to the project at the moment and the project doesn't go ahead, what happens to your donation?
I can't answer that.
Oh.
I can't answer that. That's with the South Island Primary Care Society to answer. And unfortunately, her family's sick and she couldn't be here this evening.
And perhaps you could clarify the South Island Primary Care Society. They're the individuals, or they're the group who would rent the space at the school?
Yes, they would retain the lease with the District of Metchosin. So it's not the individual primary care providers, the nurse practitioner, the pediatrician, the geriatrician, the counselor. They would not hold the lease. The South Island Primary Care Society would.
Do any of the society members live in Metchosin?
I don't know.
Oh.
I suspect yes. The major proponent, Miss Alyssa Andres, lives right at the border of Colwood and Metchosin.
So I understand the in the discussions we've had that the society then would rent the space, run the clinic, and they would contract with the nurse practitioner. Mm-hmm. So the nurse practitioner is a business person. They have a contract relationship. Who's responsible for renewing the nurse practitioner contract? In other words, is there a role, if any, for the community? Let's say the clinic gets set up and Ms. Cowrick is working there, and then the society decides not to renew so this is the basic thing. Do we want to support this kind of a model where we don't really have input and we don't know how all of that works? Now we're not asking the CFO to look into, or CAO to look into that. I'm just curious, who are we contracting with when we rent the clinic, and what considerations or assurances do we have that when the patient nurse practitioner relationships are built, that they would be maintained for any length of time?
You know, a lot of these questions could have been addressed the other night had you met, and so I don't have those answers, but I can see that you're thinking several steps ahead, which is valuable, absolutely, but I want to check to whether you're creating a little bit of alarm around something that isn't quite in our lane yet. This is what I'm asking is, I think that it's a bit alarming to people, and I'm just wondering if there's a more appropriate time for these concerns to be identified at the next meeting. Let's bring it back. I acknowledge that your concerns are valuable. Let's bring it back to the motion on the table. And that is, I'll remind everybody to ask staff to explore funding options for the proposed infrastructure for the Metchosin Health Clinic. It's infrastructure. And I understand all the concerns because this is different than what we're used to. But this isn't the first clinic that the South Island Primary Care Society has opened. This will be their 7th. So they got a track record. It's working in other places. It's working in Langford. And about the question of, do the South Island Primary Care Society members reside in Metchosin? I mean, if they don't reside in Metchosin, I think good on you for wanting to provide service for Metchosin residents. I think that's very laudable. Absolutely. And as Mayor Goodmanson often says, borders and dotted lines are for maps. They're not for people, because I go to View Royal for my primary care. Some people that I know go into the city of Victoria, and to say that, or to imply that the South Island Primary Care Society members are outside, I think that's even more reason we should thank them for considering partnering with one of our residents who is a nurse practitioner who was working and is still affiliated with the BC Cancer Agency. She's given up a lot of her time, a lot of her potential earnings to volunteer. It is volunteering. She's not getting paid to try and get this clinic off the ground. And there was considerable interest in that. They didn't ask. At that meeting, they didn't ask for a dime. It was people in the room, and particular one person at the back of the room, Mr. Brown said, we've got money. Why don't we give it to them? This is needed, absolutely needed. And so those letters came in organically at that meeting. They didn't ask. You're absolutely right. But they didn't say, we don't want your money either.
I think perhaps what's difficult for me is, well, I appreciate the comments of the individuals there. We actually don't have a lot of money. We're actually short. We're in a difficult financial situation here. And I would say we need to be spending our money on the assets that we have and minding that first. And we have cost pressures that don't include office renovations when there's already a fundraising scheme in place that is moving along and, as reported to me, doing relatively well, and let it take its course.
Yeah, I understand.
So I'll stop it there, but you don't need to respond to every comment I make to argue back and forth. I'm just making my comments, and they can sit there and move to vote.
Thanks for that. I agree. Go ahead, Councillor Shukin.
I think we should call the question.
Yeah.
I don't know if any more
Anybody
verbiage is
want
gonna
any
help us
other
along with
further clarification on the question to ask staff to explore funding options? No. Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Those opposed? That motion fails. Okay, let's move on to the next question. This is to ask staff to explore options to use a portion of the Growing Communities Fund for other community amenities, which is in the grant. The terms of reference, for instance, for a multi-purpose sport court, tennis, pickleball courts, basketball hoops, an area for leisure play, such as ball hockey and football scrums, like the infrastructure that has been constructed in Esouk. If I can get a seconder to that motion, I will motivate further. Okay, and I just wanted to remind council that the village initiative that came before council, close to the budgeting system, the budgeting season, they only wanted $5,000, and this was for the village initiative that represented over 70 organizations for youth and family. And this council denied that, even though community members saw value and they ponied up for that money. And so this is an opportunity for to provide amenities for youth. We've heard from youth that they would like to stay in this community and to play in this community. And when I saw the one at Esouk last week, I thought, wow, Esouk has a great facility for kids, but yet we don't. Yeah, go ahead.
I'd just like to express a little bit of information, background information on what you just said, Mayor Little.
Are you seconding the motion or?
No,
Mayor Little, excuse me, sorry to interrupt. Could we stick to the agenda? There was no motion that, no seconder on that motion. So if we could move on to the next agenda item.
So I don't have a seconder for that? Okay. Okay, we'll move on to the next one, which is funds to complete and implement some of the initiatives identified in the Metchosin Active Transportation Network Plan, which was in our strategic plan. We have discussed it. The plan is sitting there waiting for a grant. And as I've already mentioned, grants are not available, so the plan is incomplete. There are public safety concerns identified in the plan, and there are options, and there are initiatives that they've suggested we can do. We just don't have the money to do it. And I'm saying perhaps we can use a portion of our other funds or the Growing Community Fund for those safety concerns. Safety improvements, connectivity, community engagements. Dedicated cycling paths to foster safe passage and neighborhood connections. So that is an additional ask. Does anybody wish to entertain seconding that motion? That's the active transportation network plan. We have the plan, if you remember. This was Councillor Sherry Epps' initiative. It's in our strategic plan. Okay, so that one is not seconded either. Okay, so I'll move along in my mayor's report. Secondly, the military cadet squadron was a ceremony in Langford, along with Mayor Goodmanson and Mayor Kobayashi, MP Kibble, MLA Palmer, and other dignitary. I was delighted to be invited to the officer, staff, and cadets of 263 Beacon Hill, the 47th annual ceremonial review on June 4th. It was an absolute marvelous event. It was there that I met with some Metchosin youths as well as other youth, and some of the comments that they made to me was that, you know, we would like to stay in Metchosin to meet with our friends, but there's not much in Metchosin to keep us here. It was an absolute wonderful night. The mayors all enjoyed themselves hearing from these youth and their dedication to their squadron and their country. So there's no request from me. Number 3, I often report in writing regarding what's happening at the CRD. The CRD was jam-packed the last time, but one of the reports that was provided was a wildlife attractant toolkit, and that's available here. There's a link here. I thought it was of interest to council and to the public. It's absolutely a wonderful toolkit, talking about Get Bear Smart and Wildwise Attractant bylaw toolkit. Let's see what else. Oh, and the of course the loan authorization bylaw for the West Shore RCMP expansion project went through. It was adopted. I have all the links in my report there for your review. So the 2 bylaws for the West Shore, which is the servicing bylaw, and the loan authorization bylaw for the West Shore expansion, RCMP detachment expansion loan authorization bylaw. Okay, and that's it for my mayor's report. Thank you. So, number 7 on the council agenda, we have the business arising, the draft Metchosin Environmental Advisory Select Committee, invasive management. Councillor Gray, do you wish to?
Yeah, I'll move the council direct staff to facilitate volunteer invasive species control and habitat restoration efforts on district parks and properties.
This is seconded by Councillor Shukin, first by Councillor Gray.
We heard from the Metchosin Invasive Species Cooperative that they were interested in working in the Metchosin parks. And while we don't want to overload staff in terms of, you know, getting things organized, so maybe this is an aspirational request, we think it's a good idea that we have volunteers in our parks. Of course, we have PTASC and MISC. Metchosin Species Cooperative has worked in the past with MISC, and this links well with our strategic plan and the biodiversity planning report that we did. Councillor Shukin and PTASC and staff, I think, have all been working on the volunteer policies and the park steward policies. And I recently shared some contacts with Councillor Shukin about Sanch Parks volunteer coordinator and resources. So there's material to look at. And then we see some correspondence from Bev Bacon supporting the idea, but asking about various different issues. And I was thinking that would be fleshed out in the policy or by staff. But I would just like to support the group doing the work and joining in on the invasives battle on our properties.
Thank you, Councillor Shukin.
And I want to thank Mr. Payette because he's actually underway with much of this. He's been a big help with Friends of the Bufferland and getting them on the bufferland to do invasive removal. I understand MISC has had a pull or an effort on invasives recently, and there's still some things to refine in terms of waivers and sign off and management and how we do that. But Mr. Payette is well underway, and I mean I'm happy to support the motion. It's perhaps a bit redundant, but again, it's yeah. Well, I mean, why not in a way? But yeah.
Councillor Donaldson, do you wish to weigh in?
No, I'd be happy to support this as well.
Yeah, thank you. So MISC has reported to us before. They've presented. I'm one of the founding members with the Metchosin invasive species cooperative. They have been working with CAO Payette, so I do see this as redundant. And I take note, thank you for reminding me about Bev Bacon's letter. She says, while I'm strongly in support of the invasive species control and habitat restoration in Metchosin district parks and properties, I'd like to see some specificity in the request to staff. So she was a qualified yes, and she has a number of components that need to be addressed. Which staff member will direct the program? Which volunteer group? Will you consider approaching William Head Prison to help with the restoration? Will you consider approaching the Scouts? What budget will you provide for purchase of the tools and the gloves and for staff time, I guess? What budget will you provide for refreshments for the workers? What arrangements will be made for roadside pickup and disposal? How will you advertise to volunteers? Finally, staff will need to know that the level of priority to assign to the invasive removal doesn't rank high enough for the formation of another district advisory committee. So I take to heart all of her comments, plus the fact that this is redundant. Our CAO is already working with them. So I was a bit confused why this would come from, did it come from, remind me, did it come from MIASC or did it come from you personally?
As I said, we were asked by MISC to MIASC.
I see.
So we discussed it. I think maybe you were with the MISC group when they met the CRD, and there was something happened there that changed the relationships a little bit. So as a result, they were in touch, and I said I'd bring it up at MIASC, and we did.
With
And so this is just
that to do with the CRD had nothing to do with me. I'm with MISC, but it had nothing to do with me. That had something to do with the head of the MISC and the CRD. So that doesn't change the relationship here with our staff, and staff is already looking into this. So.
You asked me the genesis of the request.
I'm sorry?
I was responding to your question about the genesis of the request to MIASC.
Okay. Okay. So staff, there's no harm in this. You're already doing it. So we're directing you to do what you're already doing. So I guess might as well do that. That's okay? Yeah. Everybody is okay with that? You've said, Councillor Donaldson, you'd be in favor of this? Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, in regards to Ms. Bacon's, several of her questions, they're all thought-provoking, but we have in our past invasive pulls, whether it's with PTASC or Friends of the Bufferland and MISC, had access to tools, whether they're our own or I think PTASC has theirs as well, right? So some of those things, again, you could use the word redundant, but people come equipped. As far as administration, it sounds like our staff is taking care of things like the waivers, etc. But staff's not going to provide things like refreshments or anything. So some of those things are already things that good to see them in writing, but we've already done those sorts of things in the past. So actually, last couple of decades, they've had equipment and gloves and that sort of thing.
Yeah, working in 100-acre wood, removing, I think it was thousands and thousands of holly. Yeah, so they have a precedence. CEO Payette.
Yeah, through the chair. So our volunteer program is getting more complicated, it seems, every day. We rely heavily on PTASC Parks and Trails Coordinator position. That position changes every few years. We're relying on a MEASC individual who's a resident, and it seems like he'll be, willing and able for many years. So my concern with increasing the complexity of the volunteer program is we have to sustain the program. And if we put steps and processes in place and people come and go, the sustainability is difficult. So I'm really not concerned, but I'm just like maybe stating the obvious that volunteer program is based on the volunteer strength. And second is that the insurance requirements over the last couple of years have increased the regulatory requirements with our insurance provider, MIA, Municipal Insurance Association. And the risk management tolerance is lower based on incidents that have occurred over the past few years, and not in our municipality, but in others. But they're kind of a global insurance agency. And so the regulatory requirement to meet is we have to keep on top of it. It takes time. And most every volunteer event, I have to analyze it and make sure we're meeting the criteria of MIA. It takes time. And third is that I'm getting tired of comparing our programs to Langford and Colwood, who have hundreds of staff. Okay, I'm tired of it. They have full-time volunteer coordinators. Okay, so please stop comparing Metchosin to Langford and Colwood and their programs and ours. It's like apples and oranges. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I was reminded about how much Colwood had when I was attending the Municipal Leaders Health Forum the other day. They have, I think, Mayor Kobayashi said 110 employees at Colwood. So let's be mindful of that as well, as we mentioned in our strategic plan. So with that, I will vote against this motion. And it's got nothing to do with the Metchosin invasive species. Staff is overloaded. Okay, anybody else? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Mayor Little opposed. Okay, let's move along. We've got reports for action. This is the Metchosin Equestrian Society license of occupation renewal. We've got a report here. This is from Ms. Hanson to CEO Hyatt. Did you want to introduce it, Deputy Corporate Officer? Or CEO Payette? Go ahead. Either one of you is fine.
Good evening, Council. The Metchosin Equestrian Society's current license of occupation will expire on July 31st. The proposed license before you maintains the existing arrangements between the district and the society and would renew the term until December 31, 2027. And in accordance with sections 24 and 26 of the community charter, the district must provide public notice of the property disposition and a notice of assistance. So the recommendation for this evening is that council approve the license of occupation for the period August 1, 2026 to December 31, 2027, and that the mayor and CAO be authorized to execute the license on behalf of the district, subject to the required public notice.
Councillor Schuppen.
Mayor Little, I'll move the recommendation that Ms. Hanson just read out.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Schuppen, second by Councillor Gray. Do you wish to motivate on it?
I don't.
Councillor Gray.
Makes good sense.
Yeah, thank you. We've had many other license of occupation renewals, this one for the Metchosin Equestrian Society. Okay, with that, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? No one opposed. Great. Thank you. Moving right along in your agenda, just let me get there to the next item. This is 8C, annual meeting to consider the 2025 annual report. This is on page 93 of your council agenda. Ms. Hanson.
Thank you, Chair. The draft 2025 annual report was introduced at the June 1st regular council meeting. It was then made available to the public on the district's website and at the front counter of the municipal hall. The purpose of this evening is to hold the annual meeting to receive public input on the annual report. Notice of the annual meeting was published in the Goldstream Gazette on both June 10th and June 17th.
Great, thank you. Let's put the motion on the table. This is to adopt the.
Mayor Little,
Go ahead.
there is a public input component for the annual meeting, and if there is anybody in the public who would like to make comments.
Speak to it. Yeah, thank you for our statutory obligations. So this is for the public, anybody that's remaining. If you wanted to comment on the 2025 annual report, you're more than welcome to at this time. I'm seeing shaking of heads for a second time. Does anybody want to comment? And seeing none for a third time, shaking of heads. Well, thank you anyways. Regarding the, go ahead and now approve the 2025 annual report. Moved by Councillor Shukin, second by Councillor Donaldson. Wish to motivate?
Again, just say brilliant work from our staff and particularly Ms. Hanson. So again, these reports seem to be getting better and better every year. So thank you.
Councillor Donaldson.
Yeah, I second that comment as well. Yeah, very thorough, always a pleasure to read and to recap all the things that have taken place in our community, seeing the pictures of our community and our community members. It's a great report to, it's an easy read, and it's a good piece of history to go back on and reference. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, congratulations, Ms. Hanson and the rest of staff or small staff that put this together. I beg the community to go back and look at previous annual reports, and this is a remarkable change. And I thank you for upping the game. It really is a wonderful report, and as Councillor Donaldson says, it's a good read. Councillor Gray.
I'll too add my thanks to staff. It is very well put together and much appreciated.
Indeed. Okay, I'll call the question on approving it. All in favor? And that's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, moving on right along to the reserve fund policy F100.52 amendment. We have a report. Let's just get to that. Page 197 or thereabouts. What page is it on your electron? 197 or 95? What does it say on your screen? Oh, okay. Okay, I'm just trying to get through the annual report here. Anybody else have it, the page? No,
the page number
everybody's
is
still looking?
not marked electronically.
Sorry?
The page number is not marked in the electronic version.
Okay, let's. I'm just having a bit of a technical.
Looking in the agenda package, it's.
Yeah, I still need to get to it on my screen here.
Yeah, page 93.
Here we are. This is, this is on page 199 of your, in the electronic format. This is from Jeffrey Creek, the Chief Financial Officer. Go ahead, Mr. Creek. Thank you.
Thank you, through the chair. So back in May, council adopted the new Bufferland Reserve bylaw number 714 in respect to allocating $15,000 from the Langford tax sharing revenue to this new reserve. This report now just updates the actual reserve and surplus policy F100.52 to include the new Bufferland Reserve. And that's basically it. Nice and easy. Any questions?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your report. Councillor Shukin.
Sorry, I would move that council approve the reserve and supply policy F152 as amended to include the Bufferland Reserve.
Okay, this is moved by Councillor Shukin, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. Go ahead.
No, it's pretty straightforward, as Mr. Creek was mentioning, and thanks again for moving on this and providing the allocation and then getting into the policy.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Donaldson.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate Councillor or CFO Creek guiding us through this and bringing it full circle. This will be a helpful investment for that green space should the time come when we need to enhance gates, signage, culverts, that sort of thing. So we'll see how the work progresses in the future.
Okay, thank you. Just a question to the CFO. When did we have our budget into the province? What was the deadline? Could you remind me? Our budget, our 5-year financial plan, what date was that in?
Through the chair. So the deadline was May 14th.
May 14th. And this was, we considered this at the May 25th meeting. So this was technically outside the budgeting season, since we had those documents into the province regarding our commitments to the province.
Through the chair. Yeah. So we actually allocated this funding in 2015, or sorry, 2025. My bad. Of $15,000 from that reserve or surplus.
Mm-hmm.
So it just kind of lines that way. But
and this is for how much? This is for $15,000 a year.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Good. So we've got a motion on the floor. I'll call the question. All in favor? That's unanimous. Great. Okay. Thank you. Next on the agenda is reports for information. We have the Statement of Financial Information, or the SOFI report for 2025. This is around page 2000, or sorry, feels like 2000, 209. Here we go. This is on page 211. This is from Bob Payette, our Chief Administrative Officer, from Jeffrey Creek, our Chief Financial Officer. Go ahead, CFO Creek.
Through the chair, thank you. So this is one more provincial requirement that has to be done. It has to be done by June 30th of each year. And so the Statement of Financial Information shows a copy of the financial statements that were previously approved by council and our auditor. And then we also attaching additional information relating to the wages paid to council, staff if they made over $75,000 in a year, and then as well as our contractors and service providers who were paid more than $25,000. So same information, just updated each year. And then it's been posted on our website now for a few weeks, available for any input. I haven't seen any questions come in myself, but if anybody at the council table would like to ask any questions, happy to answer.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions regarding the SOFI report? Okay, so the motion, this is to receive. We don't need to adopt. We receive it for information. Yeah, moved by Councillor Shukin, second by Councillor Donaldson. Comments? With many thanks for preparing this. This is wonderful. Okay, I'll call the question, receiver for information. All in favor? Those opposed? No one opposed. Thank you. Okay, moving right along. We have next the District of Metchosin Building Inspection Department report. This is on about page 255. Just one moment, I'll get to it. What page is it, Councillor Donaldson, on yours?
255.
Is it 255?
That's not the updated version.
Okay,
sorry.
the updated version is 257. You've got it all on your screens, okay. You've got this before you. We receive these every month. Anybody have any comments or questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to receive for information. Moved by Councillor Shukin, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. All in favor? Opposed, carried. I had thought that this might be something we could have on a consent agenda since we see it every month. So perhaps we'll move to a consent agenda in the near future. I think staff would be happy with that as well. And next we have, let's see, we have a letter, don't we? Yes, we have. We have the District of Metchosin Public Communications Statistics Report.
I'll move receipt.
This is moved by Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor Shukin. Comments? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. And then we have next, we have correspondence number 10. Oh, there we are. This is from on page 261 of your council agenda. This is from Miss Stella French, Miss Anna Whiten, President and Vice President, respectively, of the Metchosin Equestrian Society. We ask for council's approval of, on behalf of the Metchosin Equestrian Society, to build stalls on our leased property. With mayor and council approval, we can move forward with the engineer's stamp on the plans, securing a building permit, hiring a contractor, and finally to break ground. Yeah. Okay, so this is a request from the Metchosin Equestrian Society. CEO Payette, do you have any concerns moving forward?
Thanks through the chair. I don't have any concerns. I just want to thank the representatives for all the work they've done, and bringing information to council periodically has been good. If council supports the request, one thing that I noticed now that I've seen the picture, the facsimile, is that we have a wind problem at the market. And if it's possible to orientate the building so it might potentially help block the wind. So just a thought.
Okay. So is there puzzled looks out there? Do you understand what, yeah, okay. The comments are there. Any other comments from the table? Councillor Donaldson.
That's through the chair to Mr. Payette. As we talked this evening about liabilities, and this building is being proposed. It's a couple different uses. One, it will be used for activities like shows and whatnot to house horses during those times, but also for emergency preparedness should there be a need for evacuation of livestock. During those times, we've had some questions answered by these ladies as far as how it's going to be managed. Do we know from MIABC what our risk is should an animal get loose, hurt or die on our property? Are we liable as a district?
Okay, I'm not sure. CEO Payette, can you comment on whether we're liable if a livestock animal is, or a horse is kept in that facility or that stall and is injured or gets loose?
I don't really know the exact answer, but I know that we're liable for everything on district property. So it sums it up. We have to have our risk mitigation in place for every document, every agreement. So in this case, we would include it on their lease agreement that they have this facility and that they take full responsibility. And like all of our other agreements, we have that kind of language in them, so they take responsibility for their own programs and actions. So that's how we risk mitigate. Even when we do all that, we still get named on claims and whatnot. So we just do our ultimate best to have the least risk as possible.
And don't forget, Council Donaldson, I know you don't forget this, that they do have their insurance from the Horse Council of BC. My daughter and both of us have had Horse Council BC insurance, and I think I know that they've assured us that they have their BC Horse Council insurance.
Yes, I'm aware that the members of the club have horse council, and that the directors have directors insurance. What I'm asking is it's emergency preparedness for livestock. So it could be farm animals coming in and that. So that's a little bit different. One of the questions I'd asked previously, would there be a caretaker on site during those times or not? So I haven't seen a risk management plan. I'm assuming staff has. So I was just wondering for the staff.
I know it's unusual, but I'm going to ask with your consideration if the proponents could come to the microphone right in the middle of the meeting. If that's okay with council? Yes. Miss Anna Whiten, could you come to the microphone and shed some light on this, please?
It's actually Anna Whiten, but thank you so much.
Is it Whiten?
It's Whiten.
I'm sorry.
The color.
Yep.
And the see-through skin. So what we have currently is insurance as a club through SARA, through HCBC, the Horse Council of British Columbia. Your waiver and requirements as a municipality states that we must have every person that uses the property to be MES members. Our insurance covers people who are not MES members as a club already. So if we as a club in a state of emergency grant permission for somebody else to use it, we are not abiding by your rules, but we still have our own insurance coverage for ourselves and the use of our facility. So that is stating that your risk with the stalls would be less than what it is currently because you have nothing. What we are doing is adding capability, and we would already be covered by our insurance policy, and we have verified that with SARA multiple times, to be clear.
Okay, that's great. And this, we are talking about a massive emergency if people want to evacuate.
We're not talking about a massive emergency. We only have 6 stalls. We're talking about one car going through a fence. We're talking about one barn being flooded.
Okay.
We're talking about small scale emergency preparedness. We're not capable of looking after hundreds of animals. We're looking after 6 or less.
Okay. It's hard to imagine that a judge would say you're liable when it was an absolute emergency, but I'm not a judge. But as I take the point, CAO Payette, that the district, and you in particular, have to manage this, that it is a liability. Yeah, okay, good point, that we need to be aware of that. Thank you for that. Any other questions for Anna Whiten? Councillor
Sorry, how do you want to refer to the stalls? Like the horse stalls, the animal stalls, the
temporary stalls?
Temporary stalls, okay.
So they're only to be used temporarily, and they are stalls that can be used for horses, they can be used for any livestock that would potentially require short-term stay.
Okay.
We are not housing animals there for more than 48 hours.
So I'm just trying to think of, if we went ahead with the motion to support this, would it be something like council support the development of temporary stalls and supporting infrastructure? Because I think the covered area isn't temporary. You want to build it there and make it permanent. Is that?
As our president Stella French mentioned earlier, we have the stalls purchased.
Okay.
They require machinery to move.
Yeah.
They're considered temporary in the fact that you cannot house animals there for long periods of time.
But you also want to build a covered structure, and I'm just trying to think
And-
how to be clear that you've got the okay to do that. Because I think that's what you want to prove.
That's absolutely what we would like.
Okay,
is
so the supporting roof and foundation and pillars and all that. So yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't see any other questions, so thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, go ahead, Councillor Shugan.
So Mayor Little, I'd like to move that council approve the Metchosin Equestrian Society to build the structure and have the space for the temporary stalls, animal stalls.
I'll second that. Go ahead. Want to motivate further?
I think Ms. French and Ms. Whiten make a good case for it. They brought us regular updates. And there comes a time when you have to ask yourself, well, why wouldn't I approve this? Why wouldn't I go with this? And I'm just not seeing any valid reasons to not support. And a great response from Ms. Whiten about the club's insurance. So seems like a good move to me. And I just take their point that they're not asking us for money at this point, and maybe never, but other than, the grant and aids and all that. So.
Yeah, I'll motivate as well, since I seconded the motion. They are a great group to work with. They're very communicative. I like their designs. It's in keeping with the stalls that are already at the farmers market, so they've taken into consideration the sensibility of the look, and I would be in favor of this. I think it's a great service for our community, and very community minded. Okay, not seeing any others, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's unanimous. Okay, thank you. We'll move along to the next letter. This is a letter written by Miss Leah Wilson, a Metchosin resident. She's suggesting trying a small music in the park program during the summer months. Many municipalities, she says, are doing it. Colwood, for example, hosts two-hour evening concerts. Langford does very similar. She'd like to see something the same here. As you'll remember, we have had every year a volunteer appreciation concert, and I think it's brilliant to rename that Music in the Park. It does sound better, and I would be in favor of this. And as I mentioned to you when you were asking questions about it over email, that I have secured one band for July 16th, actually it is, but certainly we have money in the budget for another one. As Miss Wilson mentioned, that she believes that we should have music in the park. We should employ local musicians, and we should pay them. And so, like other years, we would pay the musicians. And so the one in July, and I think we should rename it Music in the Park, is in July. The band is booked. I've asked them to work with the Healthy Communities Select Committee, who are interested in positive things, generating positive messages. They haven't reached out. They were waiting. The chair of the Healthy Communities was waiting for our decision, and then she was going to reach out to Ms. Wilson. Okay, I'll put the motion on the floor. How about that? Or did we already? No, we didn't. Okay, so the motion would be to provide a summer concert, music in the park in the summer. We do already have it in the budget. We can work with them, rename it to Music in the Park, and potentially, depending on what Healthy Community says, we could have one in August. We have that money available, and I'm sure there are bands. There's multiple bands in Metchosin. Leah herself actually is a very talented musician and an incredible singer. So it's in the budget. It's not that we're spending money that we haven't already. It's in the budget. Hello. Does anybody want to speak to this? Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't know. I thought you were waiting for a second here.
Yeah, well, actually, I'll move the motion. Can I have a seconder, please?
Okay, I will second. And I have a question. Is this just, how frequently is this happening?
Well, she suggests in her letter that we start slow, sort of as a pilot project. And in actual fact, we have started really slow. We've done it once a year for 3 years, and that's pretty slow. I think we could up it to 2 this summer. We would need a staff member there, but I know that CEO Payette was very happy to be there, dancing to the music last year. So I'm sure he'd be dancing this year with us. That is a staff member. We would need some receptacles as well, some rubbish bins.
So is this a suggestion for the district to take on, or is this something that Ms. Wilson wants to do on her own initiative and maybe more frequently?
No, I haven't talked to her honestly.
Okay.
From the letter, it looks like she wants the district to do it because it comes with a component of paying, which we've already discussed. I mean, it's in the budget. $1,400. See, nodding heads is in there. 700 will go to the July 16th musicians. 700 could be used for an additional concert. We'll leave it. I think we could leave that up to Healthy Communities to discuss whether they have the capacity to help with the August event. But it'd be great if we pass this and then the chair of the Healthy Communities can discuss this with Leah, which is following process. Okay, so the motion's on the floor. Are you speaking to the motion?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm actually find myself quite reluctant to commit to this year, just because I'm unsure how the event and the planning is going to go, and this is something I don't want to foist onto staff. And I mean, I trust that Healthy Communities would, get into this if they have the people who are there in the summer. But at the same time, even their involvement is going to involve staff time as well. My preference would be to ask Ms. Wilson if she can get involved in the already booked event in July, kind of understand what our processes are, and look toward next year for a schedule of events and understanding what our staff needs are. But I really personally I don't want to be involved in this summer, if only because of just other things going on. So
have you been involved in volunteering with the other music events in the last 3 years? No, but they went off. So there was me, myself, and I in the first year, and I remember Councillor Gray saying, if you do the work and it's a success, I will consider supporting it. So I did the work. It was a success, and we have one event so far booked this year. If it's up to you, if you don't see the value in a second, or even letting the Healthy Communities discuss this, okay, that's fine. Councillor Gray.
Perhaps, I don't know if this would help Councillor Shukin, but if it's about the discretion of the committee, whether or not they can take it on really is the question I think that's in front of us. So are we foisting it on the Healthy Communities, or are we asking them?
Well,
I didn't quite get the motion actually.
We're not forcing it on them. We're considering it, that we're asking them to consider it. The Healthy Communities has expressed at the mayor's teas that they want to do good in the community. They see too much vitriol and toxicity. They want to pump out positive things. And so I think the Healthy Communities would be delighted to be involved with this, but I don't know. I've talked to the chair, and she's mentioned positivity, but she wanted to follow process. She hasn't reached out to Miss Wilson as of yet. She was waiting for this, and then she would reach out to Miss Wilson. Yep.
Can I hear the motion one more time? Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
that council refer the correspondence to the Healthy Communities Advisory Select Committee for consideration and recommendation.
That's just what I'm hearing based on discussion.
Yeah. Okay.
What the intent is.
Okay, I'll amend my motion to include the words that, how about if we start over? I can't remember what the motion that I articulated was. It was similar to that, but if it's okay with the seconder, that council refer the correspondence to the Healthy Communities Advisory Select Committee for consideration or recommendation. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I just was wondering if we want them to consider it for this summer or for the following summer.
For the following, but we can't tie the hands of a future council if they decide
No,
this is
I
not
know.
worthy. It would set a precedence, possibly. Okay, you're okay with that?
I am.
Okay, so that's the motion then. Everybody clear about the motion? I'll call the question. All in favor? That's unanimous. Great, thank you. And then the next is also just information. This is from the, who is it from? Marianne Cools, BC Hydro, the North Langford substation, regarding that. And that's for the community to hear and understand as well. Growing demand, new substation, the location. The North Langford substation will be located in Langford Heights Business Park on Caribou, is that Caribou? Yeah, 2161 Caribou Drive near Millstream Road. They've got a timeline here. They're just keeping us informed. Okay, I'll take a motion to receive for information. Moved by Council Donaldson, seconded by Council Gray. All in favor? No one opposed? Moving on right along, we're going to item number bylaw 11A, park dedication. This is the Bufferland Bylaw 2026, number 721. Got a background here, including resolutions, where we are now. Council Shupin, did you want to move this?
I would. I do have one question though.
Mm-hmm. How about if we get it on the floor?
Oh, sure.
This is the report from our planner. Let's get the motion on the floor regarding this bylaw, and then we'll discuss it.
Okay. Well, sure, if I can ask.
Yeah, right at the very top. Would you like me to read it out? The recommendation is that council give first, second, and third reading to proposed park dedication bufferland bylaw 2026, number 721. Do you want them in two motions, Deputy Corporate Officer, or all in one?
You can do it all in one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that council authorize the mayor and CAO to execute Form C to register a Section 219 covenant on the bufferland, legally described as Lot A, Section 93, 94, 96, and 108, Metchosin District Plan, EPP 69605, to support long-term protection of the bufferland.
So, Mayor Little, I would really like to, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. I think we should take these separately because there's some, I think the covenant document is actually fairly complicated.
Okay,
and I
so
think,
you would prefer to, it would have been helpful if you had mentioned that. So let's just take the first recommendation, that council give first, second, and third reading to the proposed park dedication buffer land bylaw 2026, number 721. That's the motion. Moved by Councillor Shukin, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. Go ahead and motivate.
Sure. Thank you very much for getting this together. It's actually pretty simple, and it does what I believe we need to do with the bufferland. My one question, and I think I'm suspecting this is a question with everyone, is Section 3.2A, where we have the option of providing expanded transportation and utility facilities, including water supply, distribution network, stormwater, et cetera, et cetera. So I suppose I can see the rationale for that.
Councillor Shukin, can you tell everybody where they can find that in the documents?
Sure, it's page 274 and it's section 3.2A.
Thank you.
And again, it just gives the district the option of putting infrastructure into the buffer line should they need it. Mr. Payette, I wonder if I, through you, Mayor Little, if I can ask Mr. Payette if there's any clarity or discussion around all this?
I think for clarity, it would be for any future purposes that we unforeseen type things that we would put in there now instead of having to redo it over and over again. So just kind of an overall coverall type of language. I don't see us putting any infrastructure in there.
Okay.
But we don't really know yet what the trails are going to be, what the entrances are going to look like, lighting. We don't know a lot of stuff yet, so I don't see any harm in it. We have so much eyes on this project. Nothing's going to go in there that's objectionable, I'm sure of it. That save amendments in the future.
Yeah. And sorry, one with the covenant, I think there is another extra layer of protection. So yeah, yeah, it's just that's the thing that jumps out. So
Do you want to articulate your concerns more fully?
it is simply that it reserves, again, the bylaw expressly reserves the authority of the council of the district to adopt bylaws or undertake works that provide for new or expanded transportation and utility facilities, including but not limited to water supply, distribution, utilities, and all appurtenances thereto. So it does allow a future council, put in a substation or something like that, or a water pump facility. Mm-hmm. And who knows, maybe one day that might be an advisable thing and there might be a public good to it. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. That's the thing that kind of I get hung up on a little bit. So, but curious to hear my colleagues.
Yeah, let's move to Councillor Donaldson. Did you have any comments regarding anything to do with this, that in particular?
No, I'm comfortable with what CAO Pat has just stated. And I understand the concern, but I think this is good. This is been a lot of work on it and quite a long timeline to get to it, and I think this is thorough.
I before you speak a second time, I'll note. See, nobody else wants to talk, so I do want to admit that it does say stormwater monitoring station. So there's one there. What if it? I mean, it has been on the fritz a few times, right? And so there has to be some mechanism for going into that. And as CEO Payette mentioned, it's great that it will be in this bylaw so that they don't have to go back to council for. In particular, what I see is that stormwater monitoring station, which is going to change. We may want to change the metrics of that stormwater rather than just flow, maybe contamination, that kind of thing. Councillor Gray.
Yeah, I take the concern that Councillor Shukin's raising. The planner talked about this at our last meeting, and I think the CAO's explanation is a good one. Mm-hmm. We have some trust that that our intentions will be followed, that this allows us to proceed without limiting actions that we would like to see in the bufferland in future. So I'm supportive.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Yeah, and yeah, just I've been thinking it through a little bit, and great point about the monitoring station. I think the bigger risk though is delaying this. And
sorry, is what? Delaying it.
Yeah,
I agree.
So
yeah, delaying any project is really risky.
Yeah. So okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, that's great. Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Was that an opposed, Councillor Gray? You're opposed to this?
No, I'm in favor.
Oh, in favor. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, then the second question, Councillor Shukin. Do you want me to read the recommendation? Okay. The second part of it is and that council authorized the mayor and CAO to execute Form C to register a Section 219 covenant on the bufferland, legally described as Lot A, Sections 93, 94, 96, and 108, Metchosin District Plan EPP 69605 to support long-term protection for land. Councillor Shukin. Do you want to move this motion? This is moved by Councillor Shukin, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. Councillor Shukin, go ahead if you want to motivate.
Yeah. I find that I get a little nervous reading the covenant document, mainly because there's a lot here.
So we did go over this quite thoroughly when the planner was here. Had I thought there would be questions regarding a bylaw, which is the end stage, we would have asked the planner to be here. So in the report, it outlines when we've spoken about it, May 25th, 2026, December 15th, 2025, October 28th, 2024, October 23rd, 2023. So I'm a bit puzzled that you have concern at this date.
Oh no, this is the first time we've seen the actual covenant text, if I'm not mistaken.
I thought we saw a draft. No?
Yeah. And you know what? I think it's probably fine. Yeah. Except somewhere in here, there's a little gremlin that's going to come and bite us at some point. I'm just sensing. So and I shouldn't be this candid at the table, but or come with uncertainty and confusion, so I apologize. So for example, like section 2.2, it talks about subdivision, section H. Of course, the grantor shall not subdivide the lands unless the grantor obtains the prior written consent of the district. Grantor further acknowledges and agrees with the district that they're not obligated to approve any subdivision of the lands. So, I mean, I guess it allows for the option of subdivision, but that's part of maybe what we're trying to avoid. So
if I could maybe provide some clarity, the section 219 covenant is there to protect. It's not there to deter from the property. It's there to protect. Remember, we had talked about in the future, we may want to add additional covenants provided by another entity such as Habitat Acquisition Trust or Islands Trust or some other trust that we could partner with. What we talked about, as I remember at the last meeting, is let's get this done. Let's not delay it. We've got the ability of adding the 219 covenant. I remember the planner saying, I hear you, your concerns about adding another entity, but right now, the importance of getting this done, and it will be sufficient now with the 219 covenant. Don't remember that? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I recall her saying something like that. Councillor Gray.
Yeah, that we do.
Yes, and in that discussion, the idea is that we get this done today, if this helps, and then later add another player if we want, and another player would certainly deal with this issue. Yeah.
That's
thank
exactly
you.
what I just said. Yeah.
Great.
Any other comments, Councillor Donaldson? You've been involved with this with Councillor Shukin since the beginning in 2023, and I thank you both for your work.
Yeah, no, it's been a very good and thorough process. The planner has been very helpful and useful in explaining those steps, especially this last time, answering all of our questions pertinent to the covenant question as well. I always sense with covenants they're never an absolute surefire, but I'm happy that we actually have this at least, and that it actually has the park zoning, and that's different again than where we had first started, and we debated that in the working group as well to some degree. So
yeah, good point. This was discussed with your group, the Bufferland Consultation Group. What did you name it?
Working group.
Working group. Yeah. That was a recommendation of that group.
Okay.
Yeah, and Mr. Simpson did speak to it this evening as well.
Yeah. The one other thing, and this is more, I'm saying it to myself to, relieve my anxiety that I should not be expressing right now. But the thing about this is it actually is part of the process of lifting the other covenants on title. So that's, as I understand it, it's part of that whole thing too. So that's a net benefit as well. So great. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'll call the question. All of those in favor? That's unanimous. Okay, thank you. Moving along to other business, we have number 12, the wayfinding sign at Metchosin School, Council Donaldson, on about page 285 or so. I'll just try and get to it here. What page are we on, Councillor Gray? On the
Agenda package says page 285.
yeah, we're supposed to be using our tablet, so I'm trying to get to the report.
If you set up your agenda on your tablet, then you can just click on it on the report and it will bring you to it. That's what I've been doing. So I've been looking at any page numbers the whole night.
Thank you. The staff recommended I try the PDF version, so that's what I've got. Oh, page 287. Thank you for that. Council Shelley Donaldson, Chair of Finance Committee. Do you want to speak to this item?
Thank you. So this was brought up previously as a recommendation out of my councillor's update. And in turn, the council had recommended I speak with the stakeholders regarding the proposal of putting a wayfinding sign out the front of the building to help with the navigation of locating their businesses as well as potential names. So I went around and spoke to every one of the stakeholders in the building, giving them an invite to an evening to have a conversation. It was about an hour-long consultation. For those who work evenings, they obviously could not attend, but were all supportive. So I'm happy to report that it was a positive exchange of information, passionate at times, so keeping on track with an agenda, and I had a PowerPoint, so that was good. All sorts of great ideas and new things that were identified as well. So just trying to keep with the first step and stage of locating where their businesses were, wayfinding sign out of the street to say, yes, we are open for business. 2 years ago, we had talked about, where were we going to be with naming, who was the tenants, that sort of stuff. And I'm happy to say staff have been remarkable in leasing out the spaces. So in a shorter period of time than I thought we would have had. So this is great. So it was identified that, deliveries and people finding places, it was difficult because the building has many entrances. So wayfinding sign out the front at least tells you some of what's going on in the building. The other thing that was identified was having maps on the inside of the 3 main entrances where like a "you are here" type of thing. So that's another stage in the future. I did show what the design would look like. I believe there's a drawing here, an updated drawing a little bit too. Mr. Art Brennan, who was the person that's designed this, has been going through every step of the way. We've also met with Building Inspector Chris Watkins to understand where the location would be. I do have a sort of a Google map there. That is just an estimate because it's really hard to put those little squares, draw them on the internet here. It does have to be on the property, so inside the property, not out on the boulevard, obviously. And so he just looked at it in the way of sight lines coming in and out of the driveway. Mr. Brendan did find out for me that the size of the lettering has to be 4 inches in a 40K zone for highway signage. So that was an interesting fact that we have to stick with. The representatives, which were Metchosin Senior Association, Metchosin Preschool, Metchosin Medical Health Center, Metchosin Pickleball Club, Metchosin Art Pod, Metchosin Arts and Cultural Association, all participated that evening. And then there were others that were absent. They wanted a bigger sign. but we have a sign bylaw, and the sign bylaw is only going to allow us to have approximately 6 signs given the dimensions. So we had to reiterate that. Since then, I've also worked on putting a bit of a criteria together for staff. It'll need some work. I did give that to Mr. Creek, so that's again another layer that staff will need to use and will need to apply to anything that council would be using to determine who goes on the sign. And then we talked about naming considerations. Councillor Shukin was shepherded that in there, and so we talked a couple of different things, even including family namesakes and stuff like that. But it was Village Commons definitely was one that was favorable, mostly because it reflects the site's role of a shared gathering place and the function of commerce, recreation, services, education, and community activities. There was nobody said an absolute no, so that was also positive. Yeah, and so I think you've read probably the rest of the report. I'd be happy to answer any other questions, but I do have a recommendation for this. So.
Why don't we have a discussion? I think all of us were there at that meeting. You were there. Oh, Councillor Gray, you weren't there, but it was a very good discussion. Did you want to comment on the discussion? Sure.
Want to move that we extend the meeting past 10 p.m.
Moved by Councillor Shukin, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. Go past 10. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Go ahead.
Great. And thank you for hosting that meeting, Councillor Donaldson. And I thought it was a really good discussion. And it did open my eyes to a number of things that we still have to work through around the school. Name, purpose, wayfinding, et cetera, et cetera. I have to confess, though, that I didn't see, certainly not universal support for the sign or the name. I did see from my perspective and vantage point, I did see a fairly great diversity of thought in terms of the best way to proceed. So based on simply that meeting and what I heard and saw, I don't know if I could support this tonight. I think that there is more work to do, but we have to do that work. The school is no longer a school. It is a community center. It is a recreational center. It's possibly going to be a medical facility one day. So I think we need to move beyond the school. I like the idea of doing a sign, but at this point, I feel like there's still a bunch of unknowns to doing this right. So that's my sense right at this moment.
Okay. In defense of the project, Art Brennan has worked very hard on this project. Shelley Donaldson has worked extremely hard on this process. I understand there's not a lot of trust at this table, and I think the community can see that with a 2-2 vote all the time. However, I'm going to support this. I didn't actually hear the support for the name, a Village Common. What I heard was, if someone is Googling Village Common, they're going to get something in Nebraska or in New York or in Vancouver. What I heard from a number of the participants at the workshop was that it should have Metchosin Village Common, Metchosin Community Center, just like there's a picture here. Yeah, I think it says Metchosin map and bike rack or something. It really needs to, if you're going to put in a Google search for the Metchosin Elementary School, Metchosin's there. If you're going to put Village Common, it needs to have Metchosin in there, even though it may seem redundant. And so I've recently come to understand staff's really frustration with this, because when they are talking about renting that out, classroom 1, it's next to it's at Metchosin Elementary School, classroom 1, next to the brewery, beside the Metchosin Collective, in front of the preschool beside Maca. That is the term they're using. Can this council not agree on one name? Councillor Epps suggested the Orca Centre. Councillor Donaldson suggesting Village Commons. I say, let's go with what the people said at the meeting, Metchosin Village Commons. I like, and I'm not a hill I'm going to die on, but I like Metchosin Community Centre, and we can name it colloquially as the Met. And I think that's, that we can say, I'll meet you at the Met. Metchosin Community Centre, MCC. So it's MCC or the Met. I think we should make a decision tonight. Have some trust in Art Brennan. Have some trust in your fellow council member. I wasn't at the other engagements. You weren't either. She went around to all of the stakeholders and received comments. So I think we should decide on one of those 4 names. Councillor Gray.
Yeah, I don't think that's a fair statement. I didn't hear Councillor Shukin saying he didn't trust anybody. He was talking about what he thought was a good idea in the situation.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in the sign. I think it's a neat idea. It sounds like just the reporting from the group or from that particular meeting that Metchosin would be in the name, but we haven't been talking about the name just yet. I thought tonight we were talking about the sign itself and what it would look like. My question was, or is, have we already voted on putting a sign there in a capital project, or when did we do that? And what will the cost be? Estimated.
Yeah. Councillor Donaldson, can you reiterate what was discussed at the last meeting? The cost was it 15,000?
No, but I would defer that to CFO Creek.
Okay,
please.
Let's ask CFO Creek. CFO Creek, what was the cost?
Through the chair, right now we've got an estimate of 10,500.
10,500. Was that in the budget, Councillor Donaldson?
I believe that comes from the possibly the business reserves.
Okay, so another reserve, and this is outside of the budgeting process, and it wasn't at budget time.
We've been talking about wayfinding for some time. So when I had talked, and I can't even remember the beginning of this conversation, it was actually I do remember because it was when CAO Payette first came to us and we had a surplus of funds in 2024, and he asked all of us what would we like to do with those surplus funds, and that was one of the things I put on my list. Fast forward to more recent times, and so we had a design by Mr. Brendan, and started looking at those other components to fit it in with the village based on the OCP and the design, guidelines, etc. So
so the question was, is it in the budget that we've just passed? CFO Creek. I was just wondering, is the 10,500 in the budget that we've just passed?
Through the chair. So it'd be included in the total capital that we allocate for building repairs for the school. And so there's more than enough in the budget.
There's more than enough, but this specific item wasn't listed in the budget.
No, it wasn't broken out.
Yeah, okay, but we do have funds made available from the reserve for this item. That wasn't discussed at the budget time. That's fine. I'm still willing to support it. I think it's a great idea, but the problem is, Councillor Gray, is Councillor Donaldson wants to know if they go ahead and construct the sign, there's a place above it for a name. And she's suggesting Village Commons. People at the meet and greet said, I like Village Commons too, but you need to have Metchosin in front of that because people are searching for directions for the Village Commons. So what I'm saying is, let's move on this. We can decide on a name. We've talked about it, I don't know how many times, almost it feels ad nauseum what the name is going to be. Councillor Epp, when she was here, suggested Orca Centre. We've got the Metchosin Village Commons, MVC, the Metchosin Community Centre, which is sort of overarching, and it's not just about a common area. So there's 1, 2, 3 options. Councillor Donaldson, then Councillor Gray.
Thank you. So when we discussed this last time, it was the exact same discussion about putting Metchosin in front of it. And so when we think about other towns, cities, or communities, I'll give Victoria as an example. We don't have the Victoria Johnson Street Bridge. We just have the Johnson Street Bridge. Same with the Victoria Conference Center, but we have the Crystal Gardens. We have the what was their pool? I can't remember what their pool is called. So they have a variety of different names for their landmarks and placeholders. A very large city with a lot of creativity. We're a very tiny community, and for some reason we still need to use or overuse the name Metchosin, unfortunately. And I put that in my report here, that it's already prominently represented. And at least 5 of these tenants have that name. There is only so much room on the sign. And so when I had first started doing research on this in January, just trying to apply for a grant, Metchosin Elementary School, I didn't put elementary school, but I just put Metchosin School, it already profiled me as a school. So we want to get away from that, obviously, but we want to, you know, and I've explained that previously as well. So Village Commons was short and sweet. Commons covers everything in the gathering place, a rural community. Village is already in our OCP. It's been there since 1984. We have the village core. A wayfinding sign is just is a standard that follows with the other structures already in the core as well, as opposed to having all these little different kinds of signs and designs, sandwich boards, that sort of thing. Not to say it's going to eliminate those sorts of things, but certainly we will look a lot more professional in this asset that we call the school site, which is a shorter version. It's gradually getting shorter. We are open for business. We must become the responsible landlord and put a wayfinding sign out there to promote and support those businesses that are paying us rent, which is what we wanted. We wanted revenue generating. This is just a very professional approach to doing it. Village Commons fits. It was considered favorable. I spoke to a couple of proponents that couldn't make it that night. What they thought, I listened. I didn't put anything out to them. They did the Google search differently than what I've done and said it came up no problem, but each to their own search engines. They're super happy to see the wayfinding signs going up. I got positive feedback from people. So I have no reservation with the sign going in and where it's going to go in. The staff is going to check for the, call before you dig, what kind of utilities are underneath. It'll probably be engineered, probably the same construction company that did the, bike shelter.
I don't hear any discontent at the table regarding the need, the necessity, the value for the wayfinding sign. And the people that I heard also.
I think, excuse me, Annika was next.
Yep, I'm just commenting on what she said. What we heard at that meeting was concerns about the name Village Commons. So they liked the sign. So I don't think you need to further motivate us on the sign itself. Their comments were regarding, can they be removed? Yes, Art explained those signs can be removed. What they also explained was they thought that the Metchosin should go before it, because when they searched for it to give that address to pickleball players in Colwood or Langford to get the address, they came up with other entities. And I did the search myself, and it's a Google search. It's not my search engine. So the first is Village Commons, Cortez Island, Royal Bay, Cortez Island, Cara, Calgary, the Village Commons, I don't know where this is, looks like Europe. Construction begins on Village Commons in Calgary's east, Mahogany Village Commons. So that was their concern, that they thought it should be Metchosin Village Commons, so, and it would solve the problem with our staff as well, telling people where to go, so that people can Google it, get the directions. Do you understand
I
what their
understand what you're
concerns?
saying.
Yeah.
When somebody wants to know where the Metchosin Senior Center is, Seniors Resource Center is, they will Google Metchosin Seniors Resource Center and an address will come up, which will be on the sign. If they want to know where the Metchosin Medical Health Center is, same thing. And we did talk about QR codes, and we talked about not having them on there, because each one of these businesses will have a website or an electronic way of finding them. What's missing is they get to the parking lot and they don't even know where to go as to, you know, which entrance and stuff. So at least we know we can put where that is, hence having the maps on the inside as well. We did discover there were many other layers to how to find business. Once they visited, and this was one of the proponents taught to me afterwards, say once they've been here first visit, then they're fine. Even with the double doors on the classroom, most of the second doors are, you would try it. If it wasn't the right place, you would go on to the next one. You wouldn't keep doing that 6 visits later. You would understand probably after your first visit where to go. In some cases, the second door is locked. I even suggested maybe put arrows, but they said it's not a problem. So this is just feedback I've gotten with following up with these businesses. I'm trying to support what they have asked for after this proposal. The name can stay off of it, but the sign, I have no reason why, see a reason why we can't start that. If we want to go and take a poll of all those businesses and the businesses change, are we going to change the name each time there's a new business? We are the landlords. We need to make a decision.
You mean change, if Mile Zero Brewing moves out and another brewery moves in, of course we would change the name.
Maybe another business comes in, or 2 or 3 come in and say, well, we don't like Village Commons, let's change the name. That's what I mean. Like, we make it and we make a decision. We're the landlords. I'm not sure if we need to poll everybody, but if that's what you're suggesting, we leave the name off of it.
No, that's not what I was suggesting at all. Councillor Gray and then Councillor Shukin, and then I'll actually, CAO Payat would like to speak. Go ahead.
I'm just looking around and we're not really following much at this point. It's getting too late and it's
should we table this for further discussion?
Yeah. It's just that we're not keeping track right now.
Would you like to table this for further discussion for another time? Okay. Okay. Let's do that.
If I could just ask the question that I've been waiting to ask.
Mm-hmm.
The mayor is suggesting the location have the name Metchosin in front of it. So the title at the top would have Metchosin and some other words. And then I think I heard from Councillor Donaldson that letters need to be 4 inches tall. And so it's not clear to me, can you have the word Metchosin and all these other words and it still fit on this particular sign as designed? Is that part of the issue? That's through the chair.
Did you want to answer that?
So just, is there a limit to how long the words can be? Just a practical question.
Yeah. Go ahead and answer that, and staff is looking for us to defer this. We can't come to a conclusion. Did you want to answer that question?
So as you add more letters or the length title of something, it does get crowded. So in the case of, say, Metchosin Seniors Resource Center, that might be 2 lines. If you're putting the title of the wayfinding sign at the top and it's succinct, you'll be able to see it much better. It's like a heading, right?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So on page 295, you have an example of the Metchosin Map and Bike Center, right? What I know that you're trying to give voice to the renters and the people in the building, but you did ask people to come for consultation. What I heard, what Councillor Shukin heard, was that there were some concerns regarding Village Commons. And so, yeah, let's defer this.
I'd like to make a motion we defer this to a future council meeting.
Yep. Motion by Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor Shukin. All in favor? Opposed? Opposed by Council Donaldson. Okay, that's deferred for a future council meeting. And where are we? Okay, we've got question period if before 9:30, which it's after. Call for adjournment. Moved by Councilor Shukin, seconded by Councilor Gray. All in favor? Opposed, carried. Great, thank you.